Hello and welcome everybody to Mild's Culture Plate. Ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, cuckolds of all ages, it is that time again. It's 6 p.m. Central, Wednesday, December 6th, 2023, and we've got some news for you today. A lot of different topics, going to be covering a lot of different topics. And then after we cover these different topics during the first hour, we're going to roll right into the fourth Republican primary debate. I'm sure I'm just going to be roasting these people because let's face it, this is the fourth one. At this point, they're just repeating the same old bullshit, right? And so let's have a little bit of fun with it. I mean, I guess I've been having fun with them, but we'll see how we go this time. Oh, sorry. Got my phone not on silent. Let's do that now. Okay. Phone not on silent. Phone is now on silent. Okay. So we got a bunch of news stories today. First on the agenda, let's do this story here. Well, you know what? No, here. I'm going to ask you folks. Have you ever drank one of these drinks from Panera Bread? You see these? These are lemonades. You got the blood orange charged splash, the strawberry lemon mint charged lemonade, and the mango yuzu citrus charged lemonade. And look, it says, okay, contains caffeine 150, so around 150 to 230, 220 milligrams of caffeine. And look, there's a big difference between 150 and 237 milligrams of caffeine. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this here. Share this tab instead. Panera Bread's charged lemonade blamed for a second death, lawsuit alleges. Dennis Brown, 46, drank 3 of the highly caffeinated beverages before drank 3 of the highly caffeinated beverages before suffering a cardiac arrest in October, according to the suit. Now let me just do this here, okay? Share this tab instead, okay? This is the Mayo Clinic. Caffeine, how much is too much? Okay, up to 400 milligrams of caffeine a day appears to be safe for most healthy adults. 10 cans of cola or 2, quote, energy shot drinks. Keep in mind that the actual caffeine content in beverage varies widely, especially among energy drinks. So, right here, the Mayo Clinic says up to 400 milligrams, right? Let's go back. Share this tab instead. Now, again, do we assume, okay, regular is 170 calories. Okay, so we're assuming regular is 158 milligrams. Okay. 158 milligrams. Let me just put this in my calculator real quick. 158 times 3 equals 474. 474 milligrams, and that's in a regular. That's assuming the guy didn't get a large. Okay, this guy drank 3 of them. So this guy had a minimum over what the Mayo Clinic says is safe to drink. So let's continue reading here. Panera Bread's highly caffeinated charged lemonade is now blamed for a second death, according to a lawsuit filed Monday. Dennis Brown of Fleming Island, Florida, drank three charged lemonades from a local Panera on October 9th and then suffered a fatal cardiac arrest on his way home, the suit says. Brown, 46, had an unspecified chromosomal deficiency disorder. Don't do it, Kevin. Don't do it. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay. Yeah, we're on YouTube. I can't say the thing. You see him in the picture, right? By the way. Oh, yeah. Forgot to mention. Yeah, gonna be. So, my whiskey of the day. Gonna be drinking Highland Park 12 Scotch. Right? Yeah, single malt Scotch. And I forgot the whiskey stone, so I'm gonna be doing a little bit of rocks today. A little bit of rocks. I hate rocks. But I hate hot whiskey even more, and unfortunately my liquor cabinet is kind of close to my heating vent in the basement here. So, yeah, gotta do it. Okay, so cheers to Sanglant86 in the chat. Welcome. Says right up there with offices making coffee with caffeinated water. Yeah. You can't be doing that. Look, I gotta admit, I'm about to be a little bit of a hypocrite here because I drank like probably 4 32-ounce Mountain Dews on the drive back from Nashville back in September. Yeah, so I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, but you know, it's kind of like, well, I might suffer a heart attack, but that's better than falling asleep at the wheel and yeah, plowing into another family or something. You know, you kind of got to make those weird decisions on the road. Anyway, okay, so Brown 46 had a unspecified chromosomal deficiency or disorder, developmental delay, and a mild intellectual disability. He lived independently, frequently shopping at Panera after his ships at a supermarket, the legal complaint says. Because he had high blood pressure, he did not consume energy drinks, it adds. Wow. The lawsuit was filed on behalf of Brown's mother, sister, and brother less than 2 months after Panera was hit with a separate lawsuit regarding Sarah Katz, an Ivy League student with a heart condition who died in September 2022 after she drank a charged lemonade. That lawsuit, first reported by NBC News, called the beverage a dangerous energy drink and argued that Panera failed to appropriately warn consumers about its ingredients, which include the stimulant guarana extract. Panera has advertised its charged lemonade as plant-based and clean with as much caffeine as our dark roast coffee. At 390 milligrams of caffeine, a large has more caffeine in total than any size of Panera's dark roast coffee, the legal complaints say. The large cup contains more than the caffeine content of standard cans of Red Bull and Monster energy drinks combined, plus the equivalent of nearly 30 teaspoons of sugar, the complaints say. The FDA says healthy adults can safely consume 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. Brown had consumed charged lemonades in the days leading up to his death, according to Monday's wrongful death lawsuit, which was filed in Delaware, where Panera is incorporated. It is unclear whether Brown knew how much caffeine and other stimulants were in the drink, which at the time of his death were available in self-serve dispensers and offered side by side with all of the store's non-caffeinated or less caffeinated drinks, the suit says. Brown's cause of death was cardiac arrest due to hypertensive disease, according to a death certificate provided to NBC News by Elizabeth Crawford, a partner at Philadelphia-based law firm Klein Inspector PC, who is representing both Brown's family and Katz's family. Panera expressed our deepest sympathy for Mr. Brown's family and said that it stood by the safety of its products. Based on our investigation, we believe his unfortunate passing was not caused by the company's products, it said in a statement. We view this lawsuit, which was filed by the same law firm as the previous claim, to be equally without merit. Panera stands firmly by the safety of our products. After the first lawsuit, Panera put more detailed disclosures in all of its restaurants and on its website, warning customers to consume the charged lemonade in moderation, stating that it is not recommended for children, people sensitive to caffeine, or pregnant or nursing women. Crawford called Brown a vital member of his family who, quote, always made everyone smile. His relatives filed the lawsuit to get the word out about the dangers of the drink, she said in a phone interview. This is a vulnerable population that I think the community at large should help protect. And I feel Panera failed to do that for Dennis, she said. Dennis's family, just like the Katz family, hopes that this message gets out to prevent this from happening to another Dennis. Now, look, I'm sure that Sarah Katz and Dennis here, good old Dennis Brown, were lovely people and that they are terribly missed by their families. I'm sure that they're terribly missed by their families and they didn't deserve to die. However, because one of your loved ones walks into a store, picks up a liquid and starts drinking it, right? You go to Family Dollar, they've got bleach like 5 aisles away from the jugs of orange juice, right? At some point you have to do the research of the foods and beverages that you are consuming and understand what your limits are. You have to, and I'm sorry, this individual was living independently but had development issues and probably didn't understand what he was purchasing, what he was drinking. Sanglet says America needs buckfast caffeine, alcohol, and chaos. Now where's my lunch here? A lot of this, the large cup contains more than the caffeine content of standard cans of Red Bull and Monster energy drinks combined. Well, they're talking about the little, like, 8-ounce cans, right? We're not talking about a beverage that you would have with a meal. We sell caffeinated sodas in the United States that are large, that have a high caffeine content. Now, granted, energy drinks and these energy shot type of lemonades and sweet drinks, they are the next level, right? They've got, like, the intent is, yeah, only drink one of these a day. And yeah, maybe Panera could do better at saying, yeah, it's not recommended to drink more than one of these a day. And just putting it on your website, right? Putting it on your website, because look, let's look at this again here. This is on the website, right? This is the strawberry lemon mint charged lemonade, right? 237 milligrams of caffeine in a large. And it says, naturally flavored, plant-based, contains caffeine, use in moderation, not recommended for children, people sensitive to caffeine, pregnant or nursing women. So, and yeah, look at the sugars in this thing. 64 grams of carbohydrates. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and remove that, close this window. I'm sorry. You have to know what you're consuming. And look, it could just be that I'm on a damn diet now. But, I'm paying a lot closer attention to what I eat and what I drink. And, I track it through a calorie tracker app. I pay attention. And really, if I'm going to be honest, that's what shocked me. You know, I definitely have my medical issues, and I have this personal life thing going on that really kickstarted my diet. But I didn't get super serious about it until I walked into work with one of these Halloween Mountain Dew bottles. This Voodoo, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Voodoo. It's supposed to be a mystery flavor every year, and every year it's some, like, this is supposed to taste like a version of a particular type of Halloween candy, right? So they've done Starburst, they've done candy corn in the past, they've done a bunch of different ones. But this year in September, October, they were selling this Mountain Dew Voodoo that was supposed to taste like Smarties candies, like the little chalky, the little circle candies that you get on Halloween. We got the squid in the chat. I read about this weeks ago. My guess is the family make a pass motion to dismiss Panera will settle it out. Yeah, yeah. Cheers, by the way. Oh, that got really cold, but yet really watered down fast. But anyway, as I was saying, I walked into work with this, and I had a coworker be like, "Yeah, that's probably a ton of calories." And at the time, I was still in fat guy mode, right? I was still in fat guy mode at that point in time, and I was like, "Yeah, it's got a lot of calories, but I'm not too worried about it." He goes, "Well, I'd be worrying about the sugar, right? That sugar's can't be good for anybody." And I looked on the back, and I don't remember how many milligrams of sugar it had, but it was like I punched it into I kind of Googled. I'm like, daily value of sugar, like daily recommended allowance of sugar, and it was like 470% of your daily sugar was in this one freaking bottle of Mountain Dew. And I was like, yeah, that might be a little bit of a problem. And so, over the past few months, I've been weaning myself down and finally weaned myself off of the soda pop. And, I've lost 50 pounds and here we are. But, it's this idea that nobody really realizes what they're consuming until they really start paying attention to what they're consuming. And it's your body, it's your responsibility to stay healthy. And so the idea that this person with a developmental disorder would be going into Panera several days in a row and drinking a bunch of these super caffeinated, supercharged lemonades. I sympathize. I sympathize with this guy. Also, lady was an adult. At some point, we got to accept personal responsibility for our actions. I don't think the family has a case at all. They advertised it as a caffeine-fueled drink. Yeah. I mean, I think what they're going to try to do is say, well, if it was served in the self-serve area, they should have a big sign on it there, maybe a warning at the self-serve drink area, reminding people. Because it's one thing if it's on the menu and then you got to walk away from the menu over here and then you see the drinks. Because, Panera's got the self-service drink station. And that's kind of what they're arguing in here, is that you walk over and it's like right next to all these other drinks. I haven't been to a Panera in months. So if they have that little sign, a little warning or something that says, caffeinated lemonade, blah, 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 and it's listed right by the drinks, then yeah, I would say that they probably shouldn't have a case. But it is what it is. But I've spent a lot of time now on this story. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Again, I'm not going to have anything really to say about this either, but let's go ahead and cover it just because it's the big news story today. Suspect confirmed dead. This is by the New York Post. Suspect confirmed dead after shooting at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Multiple victims reported. A shooting suspect is dead after police responded to a, quote, confirmed active shooter incident with, quote, multiple victims reported at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas on Wednesday, according to police. At least 3 victims were shot, and the extent of their injuries is so far unknown, according to LVMP. Now, I just want to point out that in my research for this story, I saw a lot of people posting on Twitter that the 3 victims were dead. But I don't think that's confirmed, and I think that may be people jumping to conclusions, but there were a lot of comments talking about 3 dead victims, so take that as it may. It seems like information is coming out really slowly about this, and I saw some other comments on Twitter that were essentially, well, yeah, things are going to come out slowly because the FBI and the media are getting their narrative together about this, right? University police, so back to the article here. University police had first responded to reports of shots fired just before noon in Beam Hall, which is located near the Lee Business School in the vicinity of the Student Union building, warning them to run, hide, fight. This is not a test, campus police said. Around 12:20, university police responded to additional shots fired in the Student Union and ordered those in the area to evacuate. Police confirmed that one suspect is dead. And here we have some photos of the scene of police blocking things off and standing around and pointing and, folks, well, it looks like police officers driving by, doing more pointing, doing more standing around. Oh, finally we have some students walking around with their hands up, trying to leave the campus. And police, law enforcement running in with guns drawn. Police Department Sheriff Kevin McHale gave a brief press conference at 1:30 p.m. local time when he confirmed, quote, "There is no further threat to the community. A number of victims were transported to local hospitals," he said, though he declined to say exactly how many there were or what conditions they were in. "We have no idea on the motive," he added. One victim was sent to the Sunrise Hospital Trauma Center in the city, CNN reported. UNLV campus is about 2 miles from the Vegas Strip and across from Harry Reid International Airport, formerly known as McCarran. Roughly 30,000 students attend the school. UNLV officials asked students to remain sheltered in place as the buildings were evacuated one at a time. One student told local outlet KVUU she sheltered in place at the campus's Student Union building after she learned about the active shooter alert. "We found out cops were on site and just sheltered in place till we were evacuated. And it took us about 30 minutes to get us all evacuated," the student named Jessica said. Now we got a Laura Loomer tweet. Not going to click it. Another student described how about 200 students huddled together in the building as they heard the gunshots ringing out. "A lot of people were panicking," the student, who did not wish to be named, told the outlet. She said officers armed with guns evacuated them out of the building with their hands up. As they were escorted out of the student union, she said they, quote, "walked past one of the windows. The window was shot out. There's glass everywhere." Officials said that in addition to UNLV, all other Nevada higher education institutions were shut down for the remainder of the day. Okay, so that's the big news story of the day. And let me just say, if this were your typical, and again, I could be wrong about this, I could be wrong about this. Let's wait and see what the media narrative becomes, because definitely right now there are a lot of people on Twitter calling for guns to be banned, calling for things to happen, calling for politicians to act. And so we're going to see a narrative framed around this, or we're going to see it memory hold. And the fact that it's being memory hold right now means there's probably a detail about this they don't want to get out immediately, right? There's some political aspect of it or a racial aspect of it, right? Or maybe it's an immigrant. With all that's going on right now over in Ireland and in other countries, with immigrants committing acts of violence and people being rightly outraged and taking to the streets, I could see why they wouldn't want that happening in the city of Las Vegas. It's tragic, and I hope that the people on Twitter are wrong about the 3 victims and that they make a full recovery. Prayers go out to them. and hopefully we get to hear that they survived. All right, so I got this one. I had to go to Internet Archive for this one. I found like 4 or 5 other articles that was specifically linking to this article. So I decided to go find the source here at the Washington Post. And of course, it was paywalled. So I went to the archive, Internet Archive, for this story. Biden ban on menthol cigarettes to be delayed amid political concerns, officials say. The Biden administration will further delay a long-awaited ban on menthol cigarettes after fierce lobbying from critics who warned that a prohibition could anger some black smokers who favor the products and could hurt President Biden's re-election prospects, administration officials say. I mean, come on. Fucking come on. You've got to be shitting me here. Black folks. Look. Yeah, okay, we're just going to continue. Nothing I say, nothing I have to say would be allowed on YouTube. So, black folks, come on. I mean, you're not. Anyway, the administration is expected to announce Wednesday. Come on, man. Just put the Newports down, man. Put the Newports down. Look, they got mint flavored vape now. Yes, Squid. They're openly being racist now. The administration is expected to announce Wednesday that it plans in March to finalize federal rules that will lead to menthol cigarettes being removed from the market, according to 3 officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss forthcoming regulations. The officials acknowledged that the process could be delayed still further because pressured during an election year. Man, I wish I still had my Biden soundboard. Right? The whole, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Biden is literally so concerned about black voters that on the one hand, he wants to ban their cigarettes, potentially saving a lot of lives, but on the other hand, he doesn't want to make them upset to the point where they won't vote for him. How racist do you have to be? Like, if a thing is unsafe, it's unsafe for black people and white people. Which is part of the whole conversation here anyway, right? Like, just ban cigarettes. I mean, don't ban cigarettes, but I would ban, like, like, make it to where you just like weed, you know, it's okay to grow it and smoke it. But, like, let's maybe not sell them at every fucking gas station across America. And if you're going to, then you can't really do shit like this where we're just going to ban a certain type of them that's consumed by a certain type of people. Officials originally planned to finalize the rules in August and later signaled to public health groups that they hoped to finish them by January, although the resulting ban was not expected to go into effect for several years because of anticipated legal challenges. Oh, the whole tobacco lobby. Yeah. The debate over cracking down on menthol products comes as Biden ramps up his re-election campaign. Democrats have already voiced concerns that Biden's flagging popularity could mean a low turnout among black voters whose political support propelled him to the White House. I mean, this is they're doubling and tripling down here, right? Like, oh yeah, Biden got to the White House because black voters like Democrats, right? You like menthols, you like Newports, and Joe Biden. Yay! Go black people! Come on. Let's go with another Black and Mild. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they got blunt wraps now, though. More than 18.5 million in the United States smoked menthol cigarettes in 2019. Among smokers who are black, 81% choose menthols, according to the CDC, a far higher rate than smokers who are white. Top civil rights and health groups long maintain that the tobacco industry has a history of aggressive marketing toward black communities. The proposed ban has revealed deep fissures in the African American community, with proponents saying that removing menthol cigarettes will save hundreds of thousands of lives, as I said earlier. But high-profile opponents, including the ACLU and some prominent civil rights figures such as Reverend Al Sharpton, assert that a ban would foster an underground market, leading police to disproportionately target smokers who were black. An underground market. Look, man. Look, these are Marlboro Reds, right? But I dipped them in a little Vapo Rub, man. You want one? What the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, Sangolin has a good point here. You can get menthol oil and crystals, just store them together. Don't let the state put you back in chains. Yeah. Public health officials warn that menthol enhances the effect of nicotine on the brain and can make tobacco products more addictive. The menthol creates a cooling sensation that makes smoke feel less harsh and easier to inhale. The White House has been reviewing the planned ban written by the FDA on menthol cigarettes since October. FDA is also pursuing a ban on flavored cigars. Hey, there's your Black and Mild. There's your Black and Me. Hey, Black and Me. All right. Not Black in Me. No Black in Me. Just Black and Me. Yeah. FDA. New limits on nicotine in cigarette products. FDA is also pursuing a ban on flavored cigars and new limits on nicotine in cigarettes. Okay, so just like the caffeine from the earlier story, we got to make sure you're not putting too much in there. Someone might smoke more than 3 cigarettes a day. Although the process of finalizing those rules is set to be delayed at least until March. Officials have insisted bans would not target individual consumers, but enforcement would focus on manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. Okay, so yeah, bans would not target individual consumers. But here's the thing, right? So you had the guy in New York, got choked to death for selling loose rolled cigarettes, right? You say you're not going to target individual consumers, but what about the guy? It's just like I said, selling the one cigarette dipped in some menthol. Pretty fucking sus. You make something illegal, you give the government the power to enforce it with violence. The Biden administration's regulatory agenda, set to be issued Wednesday, will contain a new target date of finalizing the rules for the menthol ban by March. That agenda is not binding, and officials noted that the White House could still elect to finalize new tobacco rules before next March, especially as public health groups amp up their own peer pressure. The timing matters, said one official, who noted that waiting to finalize the rules could expose them to a regulatory process that allows a new White House to swiftly reverse the rules issued in the final months of a prior administration. Governor Ron DeSantis has pledged to reverse the rules if elected, and President Donald Trump declined to ban menthol cigarettes during his time in office. The White House said Tuesday it could not comment on pending rules. So, in other words, this whole conversation is bullshit because Trump's not going to do it, essentially. And he's the fucking leader in the polls right now. The FDA explored a menthol ban for more than a decade and proposed rules in April 2022. The agency said it remains committed to issuing tobacco standards for menthol cigarettes as expeditiously as possible, but is limited from discussing the rules until they're published. God damn, how long is this article? Oh crap, I'm not even a fourth of the way through it. Screw this. You get the point. Right? Biden's afraid black people won't vote for him. So he's going to get on his bully pulpit and shake his finger at the nasty tobacco that you shouldn't be smoking and talk about how he's going to ban it. And then he's not going to ban it because he's too afraid of making black folks mad. Because what happens when you make black folks mad? What happens when you're a politician and you make black folks mad? Well, here we go. Eric Adams' approval rating drops to 28%, the lowest ever recorded for a New York City mayor. Quote, real sense of worry. Eric Adams' approval rating dropped to 28% in a Quinnipiac poll released Wednesday, which is the lowest ever recorded for an NYC mayor. The mayor's anemic support amid a massive migrant crisis and federal campaign probe is a 9-point drop from the already low 37% he racked up in February, and is 3 points lower than the poll's previous low of 31% recorded by Bloomberg in 2003. The survey of registered voters found that nearly 2/3, 58% of voters disapproved of Adams' performance. There's a real sense of worry and voters are not happy. There's no good news for Mayor Adams in this poll. Not only are voters giving him poor grades on the job he's doing at City Hall, their views on his character have dimmed, said Assistant Director Mary Snow of Quinnipiac College Poll, which first started polling New York mayor's approval in 1996. As the city faces across-the-board budget cuts while dealing with a migrant crisis, headlines about a federal investigation into the mayor's 2021 campaign, again manufactured by the media and Democrats who are mad that he's actually talking about the migrant problem, and an accusation of sexual assault leveled against him from 30 years ago are taking a toll. The mayor's only positive rating came from black voters, with 48% approving of the job he's doing compared to 38% who gave the thumbs down. Only 35% of fellow Democrats overall said he's doing a good job, while 49% disapproved. Adams was never underwater with voters on major bread and butter issues. 60% disapprove. Adams was underwater with voters on major bread and butter issues. 60% disapprove of his handling on crime, while only 33% approve, a troubling sign entering the midterm of his mayoralty and making public safety the major priority in his bid for City Hall in 2021. 66% disapprove of his handling of the migrant crisis, and 72% gave thumbs down of his tackling homelessness. 53% disapprove of his public schools, while 31% approve. 40% said he has strong leadership qualities, and 56% said he does not understand their problems. Yeah, what politician does really understand the problems of the everyday person? Hey, we've got, oh, by the way, we've got the Squid earlier said, menthol is more harsh on the lungs and voice, though. Why does the government feel the need to protect me from my own choices? Then the consultant says, not according to Joe Biden. So cheers and welcome to the consultant. Cheers, good having you in the chat. Thank you for joining the channel here. Third of voters said he's honest and trustworthy. 54% he's not. When asked about the federal investigation into whether foreign money was funneled into his campaign, 52% said Adams did something illegal or unethical, while 20% said he did not do anything wrong, with the rest undecided. So here you have the poll things. Other recent polls by Marist College and others reported a nosedive in his public approval, with one GOP survey claiming that Governor Andrew Cuomo would trans him by 20 points in a Democratic primary for mayor in 2025. The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 2.7 percentage points. Okay. So there we have that. Let's watch some funny videos, why don't we? So this is something I've seen in my feed. Something I've seen in my feed. Uh-oh. Yeah. This woman talking about being a single woman in her 30s. I've seen this video like 4 times in my feed today. So people have had things to say about it. So I figured I would watch it live with you folks and react and figure out what this lady's problem is. So let's do this here.
I was rejected by a matchmaker this week.
Oh, rejected by a matchmaker this week. Okay, at Elevate Your Boutique on TikTok. So this was on my Twitter feed. And she was rejected by a matchmaker this week. Oh, I'm sure she's fucking spicy about that.
She wouldn't be able to work with me. When we met, I
Wouldn't
told
be
her
able to work with
what
me.
I was looking for and told her a lot of
Hashtag female delusion calculator. It's got to be some female delusion calculator shit, right? Like, you want men that are too fucking tall, right? Watch this.
about me, and I tried to highlight some of my core qualities, including the fact that I'm very, very type A, organized.
Oh, you're type A. You're an alpha bitch, right? An alpha bitch. You're type A, organized, career driven, one would say. Career driven. Squid, it's no longer the 666 rule. It's 678. Yeah, it's 678 now. It's no longer 666. It's 678. According to fat women on Twitter, it's 678 now. Jeez. All right, let's hear what she has to say.
I like to be the leader. Told her the types of things.
I like to be the leader. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, you're a boss bitch.
Like doing. I also told her I was looking for a man who was also a leader because
yeah, this I shine on Tuesdays. God damn, how shiny does she need to be? Like, she already had a bit of makeup on when I started the video. I think those lashes got to be fake. So it's like she put on makeup for the video that she was going to be putting makeup on in. Gentlemen, this is why second date, first date, coffee shop. Something cheap. Like, you got all these women talking about, oh, don't take me to no coffee shop or don't take me to no Red Lobster. No. Coffee shop. Somewhere quick, somewhere quiet. You can talk, you can get to know her, you can hear her crazy. Right? Second date, swimming pool, hot tub, hot springs, fucking somewhere you can have a water gun fight. Something to where you can wash this off, right? You got to be able to see her some way you could see her without her makeup. Get her wet.
I don't want to always be the leader, believe it or not. I told
Oh my God. Did you see the look on her eyes? Let me go back about 4 seconds here, right? When she goes, I don't always want. Watch this.
told her I was looking for a man who was also a leader because I don't want to always be the leader, believe it or not. I told her I was looking.
You could just read. You could just read the crazy on her face. Like, she's hungering for an alpha fucking Chad to come ravage her, right? Tell her what to do. But at the same time, she's a boss bitch. So she wants exactly what she wants. She just wants the man to know what she wants and tell her to do it.
Looking for someone that was at or above the same income level as me, driven, who is ambitious.
Oh, okay. So he better have. There's the 7. There, yep. Squid, you got to take one for the team, man. You got to have more income than she. If you got the 7, man, you got the 7-figure income. She's waiting for you, man.
Who is ready for a long-term relationship and ready to get married. She may have actually
ready to get married. Okay, well, look. Women, if there are any women out there watching this right now, other than Sally, which I don't know if she's going to watch this or not, but, you know, she tends to be one of the only women that watch my show. So hi to Sally out there. Yeah, sorry, man. You still don't qualify. That's an 8-inch PP now. 6, 7, 8. 7-figure income, 8-inch PP. Yeah, I don't quite make it either. But 6 foot tall, 7-figure income, 8-inch PP. So women, if you're on a dating site, this goes to all women out there. Now, look, I saw this other video like, don't listen to manosphere bullshit. They're gonna ruin your idea of marriage. Look, let me make this fucking clear to all of you folks out there. Ladies, I want a man who's ready for marriage. That's not a thing. Right? A man is ready for marriage when he meets a woman who's quality enough to marry. Like that, you don't make that decision when you're in the we're still gonna meet people stage. This idea that I want to get married. Well, look, everyone in the world would like to meet like the most amazing person who they are compatible with and share all the wonderful highs of life with and spend the rest of their fucking life with them. Even the most like single alpha chad manosphere dude, like if he met someone who just sparked his life up so fucking much, like he would consider spending the rest of his life with that person. Now, whether you call that marriage, whether you call that getting a license and getting lawyers in the government and licenses involved. Yes, the squid has it right on point here. No man is ready for marriage until he is, just like no one's ready for kids until they have them. People want kids, people want to get married, but this idea that I want a man who's ready to get married, yet no man is ready to get married until he meets the fucking love of his life. And if you want to convince him that you could be the love of his life, then don't be the boss bitch. Don't have a demanding list. Don't care that much about his income. Because getting married, for better, for worse, for richer or for poorer. But no, he's gotta make more money than me, and I'm an alpha boss career bitch who may already makes a bunch of money. I'm surprised she hadn't said anything about 6 foot tall yet, but we're still going. We're still going.
Really picked up on the fact that I'm a little high strung. I'm not like a stressed out or anxious person. I'm just high.
Okay, now look. This is like my love does admonish videos, right? When you have to repeat things like this, I'm not a super stressed out person. Nobody who's not stressed out has to say, I'm not stressed out. The lady doth protest too much.
Energy or type A. This is who I am. And she was asking me,
wait a minute.
Or type A. Like a stress. I've actually picked up on the fact that I'm a little high strung. I'm not like a stressed out or anxious person. I'm just high energy or type A.
I'm just high energy or type A.
And she was asking me,
I thought she contradicted
meditate?
herself, but no,
No.
she said,
do I journal? No. Do anything woo? And I said, no. I said, in fact, I'm not even on the same planet as woo. When talking about what I...
What? Do I woo?
didn't like in a man, I said I could never really be with a beta type man. I specifically used the word doormat. I said I would chew them up and spit them out. And her response was, well, I married that type of man. She was saying that...
Oh, God. Oh, God. The story unfolds even further in Sanglet. You're right, man. She's been going for a while with those brushes, man. The story unfolds more, right? So she to meet a man, she went to another alpha fucking woman. And she told the alpha woman, I don't want some beta cuck doormat. And the other woman said, no, you really do, because that's like who I married. So that's a good idea, right? Fuck. What do we gotta do? What do we gotta do?
Men really like a soft woman, and I should try some of these vision board journaling, meditating type of things. Would never gonna be that type of person.
Okay, so look, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for not wanting to get involved in the hippy dippy crystal and journal and vision board. And but look, you do need the website, the female delusion calculator, right? You need that website. You need to understand that your standards, right? Your I won't settle for. You need to figure out that, okay, well, look, then I'm gonna die lonely with cats and 30 tons of makeup because the guy I'm looking for doesn't exist. But at the same time, she your matchmaker was kind of right. Like, you need to get out of your box, your little box that you've created for your ideal scenario, and really think about how you present yourself, how your attitude is. Well, I'm not high strung. Well, I'd never do a vision board. Doing a vision board takes like 3 hours, right? You put it up, makes you think of what your goals are, how to achieve them, kind of as a constant reminder. I'm not saying do it. I'm not a hippy dippy vision board kind of person. But why does she look like she had hot girl summer all through her 20s, is only now wanting to settle down in her 30s? As if she didn't reject the right men her whole life. Yeah. She doesn't want beta males.
She also said that she could sense I had some walls up, which, of course, I'm coming to meet a woman who I'm asking to find my future husband at the rate of,
yeah, what woman in her 30s
$30,000.
doesn't have some kind of walls up?
Of course, I'm going to be here really just trying to interview you, my dear friend, because I want to know if I'm going to get my money's worth with you. So of course I'm going to have some walls up. I also think it's perfectly normal to have some walls up when you are meeting someone for the very first time and who also had not taken
well,
the time
it's actually
to do
not, right? It's actually not. When you're trying to get to know somebody, like, instead of being defensive, like, be inquisitive, right? Ask questions, try to get in their mind, try to learn who this other person is, and let them learn a little about you. Don't give them the whole shebang. Like, don't spill your whole crazy, look, I listen to Alex Jones every day, they're going to inject you with the shots and blah, blah, blah. Maybe don't do that. Don't talk about all your flaws. Don't talk about all the guys you've banged. But, have a nice, friendly, small talk with somebody. Your walls don't have to be up to have small talk.
Research on me by stalking me on the internet. She definitely didn't have time because she asked for my socials no more than 1 hour before our meeting. So I asked her if she thought I would be ready for her services. Her response, she essentially said that I am not ready for her type of services because I have too much work to do. My walls are too high and I'm not ready for a long-term committed relationship at the ripe age of 38, where I have been in therapy for 10 plus years.
Oh,
she
in
also
therapy.
Said that she's too woo for me, which I can accept that. That's fine. However, I shouldn't need to be a woo type person to be worthy of love. She also said that I need to soften a little bit. And men like a softer woman. Essentially, I spent $350 to meet with this woman, have her tell me I am not
Wait, you spent how much? Hang on. I gotta hear that.
Worthy of love as I am. To meet with this woman, a softer woman. Essentially, I spent $350 to meet with this woman.
$350. That's not bad.
Tell me
that's not bad.
Worthy of love as I am.
I mean, in the current economy, yeah, that's a lot of money, but
worthy of love and partnership. Which honestly, I think for that reason alone, she should have her matchmaking license taken away, because we shouldn't be pushing on these narratives that people are not worthy as they are, and essentially telling women that the type of woman they are isn't worthy of love. That is a narrative that should not be
You
given
don't
to
want me to
anyone.
tell you.
It is dangerous commentary, and the fact that she said this to my face had some audacity.
Look, all
Well, we're
people are worthy
celebrating
of
my
love,
38th birthday
but they have to
tonight,
be worthy of
and
giving
we are
love
going to
too.
wash all of what she said aside. I am so excited. And we're going to believe that no matter the type of woman you are, love is out there for you. We are not going to listen to this toxic narrative.
You're not wrong. Everybody's deserving of love, but love's a two-way street. You have to be willing to soften up and give love, and it really sounds like you're not. There was a follow-up video, not really a follow-up video, but there was another video where they talked about her going through plastic surgery and some other shit. I was gonna cover that. I'm not. Let's see. I was gonna cover a whole other story, and I don't know what happened to my tab for it. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Let's cover this real fast, and then we'll get into the debate. The debate will be starting in just a couple minutes, so I'm going to try to do this real fast. This is from Bounding into Comics. In further making the case for physical media, Sony announces that PlayStation users will soon lose access to legally purchased Discovery Channel content. In the latest reminder, yeah, if you can hear that noise in the background, my chair is in really bad shape. I've been meaning to replace it. I did not toot. If I tooted, I would tell you. Which I did have Mexican food last night, man. I ripped a pretty bad one at work today. Anyway, in the latest reminder, the concept of digital purchases is at its core anti-consumer. Sony has announced that thanks to a licensing hiccup, PlayStation users who use the system's signature store to acquire various Discovery Channel series will soon lose wholesale access to their, quote, personally owned content. Announcing this move in a December 2nd legal notice, Sony informed its customers that, quote, as of 31st December 2023, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library. Per a list provided by Sony, over 1,000 titles will be affected as part of this change, including such series as American Chopper, Mythbusters, My Strange Addiction, and Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman. As of writing, neither Sony nor Discovery have offered any public clarification as to which exact aspect of their, quote, content licensing arrangement resulted in this development, though it more than likely has something to do with the network's recent merger with Warner. Further, notably appears that Sony will not be offering any refunds for any content affected by this change, in doing so effectively leaving customers in the wind regarding their legally purchased media. Now, I have to say this because I'm about to say something here, and I want to say this is not legal advice whatsoever. But if you have purchased the license to a certain media, to own a certain media, and that media is no longer available in the format in which you have purchased it, I would definitely go on to your Sony account, see if you can get your receipts off of your Sony account. Make sure you print them off and have them on paper that you legally purchased ownership of the license of this material. And then I would go to one of those particular websites that has some of that content available without having to make a purchase first, and make sure that you have it locally sourced in a physical media somewhere in your house. I am not pro-piracy whatsoever. But in this instance, I don't consider this piracy because you still have legal documentation that you acquired the content legally. Again, this is not legal advice. It's just what I would do. As noted above, this development is but the latest in an ever-growing tide of anti-consumer practices coming out of not just Hollywood, but the worldwide entertainment industry as a whole. From video game giant Capcom declaring war on the practice of modding video games, to Crunchyroll and Sony locking previously free-to-watch anime simulcasts behind a newly introduced subscription tier, to such cases as where a given company can up and revoke customers' access to their purchased content, it's apparent that now more than ever that corporations are no friend to consumers. Okay, yeah, there's nothing important in the rest of the article. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move along. Let me bring this back down. Let me bring up the see if we can bring up the debate here. Uh-oh. The heck? Let me see if it's on Rumble. Somebody has changed my cable password. Okay, they haven't. Okay, yeah, we're gonna watch it on Rumble this time. If I start having lag or other issues, I'm pretty sure I've got the password somewhere on my phone. News Nation. Okay, so maybe it's not on Fox anyway.
Of the year, live from the University of Alabama. I'm Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly Show podcast.
Oh, Megyn Kelly.
On Sirius XM.
I'm Eliana Johnson with the Washington Free Beacon.
And I'm Elizabeth Vargas with News Nation, and we are live on
And
News
Elizabeth
Nation
Vargas.
and the
Oh, yeah,
CW.
man.
It is make or break time for the candidates on this stage
got
right
the
now,
women.
with the primary starting just weeks away. And we have a lot to cover over the next 2 hours. So let's begin.
I did make a
with
drink.
tonight's
I did
rules.
not make a drinking game for this one.
Candidates will have
yep, there we
90
go, a little
seconds to
lag.
answer questions, 60 seconds to give a rebuttal at the moderator's discretion. You will all see the timing lights that will indicate when time is up and it's time to stop talking.
And the time we have is critical over the next
No
2
weird
hours.
smile
so we
from
ask
DeSantis
the
there.
audience to please keep your applause to a minimum.
All right, with that, let's get started. On stage tonight, 4 candidates, all vying to become their party's nominee. And given the state of affairs in our political system right now, one of you might very well do it. Even many Democrats now admit that President Biden is
they
a
won't.
weak candidate. Just as many Republicans acknowledge that former President Donald Trump's multiple legal troubles could imperil his quest for a second term.
No,
All of which
it
means
bolsters his quest.
one of you could wind up the leader of the free world.
Oh, come on.
Having said that,
Don't lie to him.
Mr. Trump is nearly 50 points ahead of all of you in the national polls.
Yes, 50
29
points ahead.
in Iowa, where the GOP caucuses are less than 6 weeks away. And so, as Republicans get ready to vote on whether any of you
29
might
points
be
ahead in
preferable
Iowa.
to Mr. Trump, we begin with the question of electability.
How do you come back from that?
Governor DeSantis, your campaign and its super
If he
PAC
wins
has
Iowa
spent
and New
the most
Hampshire in a
money,
landslide,
had the most high
these
net worth
people are
donors,
screwed.
and had a wave of momentum coming into this race after your big re-election win in Florida. You were seen by many as the candidate most likely to consolidate the non-Trump field. But here we are, a month out
Now
from
he's the
first real
candidate most
votes,
likely to
and you haven't
consolidate his
managed
boots.
to do it. In fact, Nikki Haley is beating you in New Hampshire and South Carolina now, and closing in on you in Iowa. Not to mention Trump, who is not only dominating
New
in the early
Hampshire
states,
bros,
but is beating
how?
you in Florida
How?
by over 30 points. Is it fair to say, as Senator Tim Scott did when he dropped out, that voters are telling you, not no, but not now?
So we have a great idea in America.
Uh-oh, his
that the
mic's
voters
fucked.
actually make these decisions, not pundits or pollsters. I'm sick of hearing about these polls because I remember those polls in November of 2022. They said there was going to be a big red wave. It was going to be monumental, and that crashed and burned. The one place it didn't crash and burn was in the state of Florida. They weren't predicting that I would win the way I did, and I won the greatest Republican victory in the history of the state of Florida. I'm looking forward to Iowa and New Hampshire. The voters are
Okay,
going to
but
be
now
able to
you're not
speak,
even winning
and we're
Florida
gonna earn
now.
this nomination. And here's what we need. I am sick of Republicans who are not willing to stand up and fight back against what the left is doing to this country. You've got to be willing to stand strong, and you've got to be willing to beat these people. I'm the only one running for president that has beaten these people on issue after issue. We beat the teachers' unions when we did school choice. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat George Soros when we removed 2 of his radical district attorneys. We beat the Democrats on election integrity. I have delivered results. That's what we need for this country.
That's a
And you
pretty
have other
decent
candidates
answer.
up here like Nikki Haley. She caves anytime the left comes after her, anytime the media comes after her. I did a bill in Florida to stop the gender mutilation of minors. It's child abuse and it's wrong. She opposes that bill. She thinks
Why couldn't you say
it's
that when you
fine
were
and the law
debating
shouldn't get involved with
DeSantis?
it. If you're not willing to stand up for the kids, if you're not willing to stand up and
Sorry
say
if I yelled
that it
too
is
loud,
wrong
folks.
to mutilate these kids, then you're not going to fight for the people back home. I will fight for you and I will win for you.
All
Ambassador
right, fair
Haley,
enough.
you left government service in 2018 with just $100,000 in the bank. 5 years later, you're reportedly worth $8 million, thanks to lucrative corporate speeches and board memberships like you had with Boeing.
Yeah,
Weeks ago,
Boeing,
you met with
Northrop
Wall
Grumman.
Street
Yeah,
heavyweights,
they're all
including
behind
leaders
her,
from
huh?
JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and BlackRock. Several other billionaire investors are reportedly ready to endorse you, or recently have, all of which comes with expectations. Aren't you too tight with the banks and the billionaires to win over the GOP's working class base, which mostly wants to break the system, not elect someone beholden to it?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. You know, first I'll tell you, just to respond to Ron, he continues to lie about my record. I actually said his "Don't Say Gay" bill
Let
didn't
me
go
not
far
answer
enough
your
because it only
question and
talked about
instead
gender
answer the
until
question I
third
really
grade.
want to answer.
And I said it shouldn't be done at all, that's for parents to talk about. It
And
shouldn't be
bicker
talked
with
about in
another
schools.
candidate.
In reference to donors coming on board, look, we will take support from anybody we can take support from, but I have been a conservative fighter all my life. I was a Tea Party candidate when I became governor. We opposed every single corporate bailout we possibly could. We passed tort reform.
You
We
was a
passed one of the
honeypot.
toughest illegal immigration laws in the country. We passed pro-life bills. We moved an unemployment from 11% to 3%.
a
We
pair
took
of
on the
Liberty
unions, and we
boobs
took on
slapped
Obama when
on
it
a
came to the
neocon
unions, the
agenda.
Syrian refugees, and everything in between. And so I've had a fight. And so as much as Ron says that, that's not true. But when it comes to these corporate people that want to suddenly support us, we'll take it. But I don't ask them what their policies are. They ask me what my policies are. And I tell them what it is. Sometimes they agree with me, sometimes they don't. Some don't like how tough I am on China. Some don't like the fact that I've signed pro-life bills.
Who
Some
doesn't?
don't like the fact that I may oppose corporate bailouts. That
Tough
doesn't
on
matter.
China?
That's who I am. And that's why the most conservative grassroots group in the country, Americans for Prosperity, endorsed me last week.
Well, because he didn't respond to the criticism. It wasn't about the Parents' Rights and Education bill. It was about prohibiting sex change operations on minors. They do puberty blockers. These are irreversible. Talk to Chloe Cole. She went through this. Now she's an adult. She's warning against it. She may never be able to have kids again. That is what Nikki Haley opposed. She said the law shouldn't get involved in that. And I just ask you, if you're somebody that's going to be the president of the United States and you can't stand up against child abuse, how are you going to be able to stand up for anything? That is the truth. We have it on video.
I said that if you have to be 18 to get a tattoo, you should have to be 18 to have anything done to change
You said
your
the
gender.
law should stay out of it.
We're gonna get to this in more detail later. Let's finish with electability, but trust me. we're
I
coming
love
back
you,
to this
Rumble.
issue.
The
Mr.
Birch Gold
Ramaswamy,
ad in the
for
corner
months,
is pretty
you
hilarious.
campaigned as a unifier. Then you stood up at the first debate and attacked all of your competitors as bought and paid for. The second debate, you changed your tune, saying, these are good people on this stage, admitting you can come across as a bit of a know-it-all and rejecting the practice of personal insults. By debate number 3, you called Nikki Haley corrupt, accused Ron DeSantis of wearing high heels, and told
Yes.
Ambassador Haley she should keep a closer eye
Yes.
on her daughter.
Yes.
Can you see how this has led some to conclude you are not, in fact, a unifier, and to question your authenticity?
Megyn, I think there's a time and place for everything. We need somebody
We
in the
are
White House who
unified in not
absolutely
liking
is going to be
douchebags.
a fighter when it counts. And I did say that there were some good people on that stage in that third debate. Doug Burgum was on that stage at that time, and I'll say that jokingly. Ron DeSantis is a good person, too. I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is, and now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt. And when I said they were bought and paid for, I meant the Republican establishment, not the Democratic establishment.
Yes.
Now you have Reid Hoffman, the person who's effectively George Soros Jr., funding lawsuits across this country against Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot, funding left-wing causes. We discovered this week that he is one of Nikki Haley's largest supporters. Larry Fink, the king of the woke industrial complex, the ESG movement, the CEO of BlackRock, the most powerful company in the world, now supporting Nikki Haley. And to say that doesn't affect her is false, because it's after that meeting later that day that she says that every American needs to be doxxed by having their ID, their government-issued ID, tied to what they say on the internet. So I think that this is far more corrupt than I even imagined when I entered politics. But I will say this. It is going to take a leader from the outside, with fresh legs, from the next generation to unite this country. Not the broken
Nikki Haley could dispel this right now by saying, I'm not in BlackRock's pocket because I don't support ESG.
Thomas Jefferson was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I think it's going to take somebody whose best days in life are still ahead to see a country whose best days are ahead of itself. And I think I can reach that next generation better than anybody else in this race.
Thank you. Response.
Megan. First of all, we weren't bankrupt when I left the UN. We're people of service. My husband is in the military, and I served our country as UN ambassador and governor. It may be bankrupt to him, but it certainly wasn't bankrupt to us. Secondly, I did serve on the board of Boeing. I did a lot of work with Boeing when I was governor. They were a great partner to me. I served for 10 months.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when they decided
That's what he
after
just
COVID
said.
that they wanted to go for a corporate bailout, I've never supported corporate bailout, so I respectfully stepped back and got off the board. I love Boeing. They build good commercial airplanes. They build airplanes for our Air Force. I am proud of them. They employ a lot of people in South Carolina. But that's why I left the Boeing board. There's nothing to what he's saying. And in terms of these donors that are supporting me, they're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them. But I'm not going to sit there and
I don't think Vivek wants BlackRock money.
So, and Vivek, he wrote a book talking about ESG and these woke corporations and BlackRock. The idea that I want to do that in Florida, they were managing our part of our pension, and then when they did the ESG, I took $2 billion away from BlackRock. We took action. This ESG, they call it environment, social governance, and again, Nikki is meeting with all these people. They want to use economic power to impose a left-wing agenda on this country. They want basically to change society without having to go through the constitutional process. We've kneecapped it in the state of Florida. The next president of the United States needs to be able to go to that office on day one and end ESG. And the fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts. And that is not acceptable.
I did write that book, Ron, and the irony is Nikki Haley was heaping praise on me when I wrote that book, but now I worry. I was warning about the woke industrial complex in this country as a warning. Apparently, she read it as a how-to manual, just like she reads George Orwell's books as well. And so I think that's actually far more dangerous than, this is really important for people to understand. We're marching towards fascism under Biden. Jack Smith has subpoenaed every last retweet that someone has issued from Donald Trump in the year 2020. The only person more fascist than the Biden regime now is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government should identify every one of those individuals with an ID. That is not freedom, that is fascism, and she should come nowhere near the levers of power, let alone the White House.
I've got to get to Governor Christie. I haven't forgotten
No,
about
but
you,
can
sir.
I just say,
Can you speak? I
really appreciate it.
How you doing, sir?
Good to see you.
Can you please speak to the requirement that you said that every anonymous internet user needs to out themselves? They're both hitting you on it.
I would be happy to, and I love all the attention, fellas. Thank you for that. I'll say this. What I said was that social media companies need to show us their algorithms. I also said there are millions of bots on social media right now. They're foreign, they're Chinese, they're Iranian. I will always fight for freedom of speech for Americans. We do not need freedom of speech for Russians and Iranians and Hamas. We need social media companies to go and fight back on all of these bots that are happening. That's what I said. As a mom, As a mom, do I think that social media would be more civil if we went and had people's names next to that? Yes, I do think that, because I think we've got too much cyberbullying. I think we've got child pornography and all of those things. But having said that, I never said government should go and require anyone's
That's
name.
false.
She said, I want your name.
She
As President of the
absolutely said
United
it.
States, her first day in office, she said, one of the first things I'm going to do,
I said we
all
were going to
social
get
media
the
is, I
millions
want
of
your name.
bots.
She wants
That's what she
government
said.
ID to
Hold on,
dox
finish
every
what you're
American.
saying.
That's
She
what
said
she said. You can roll the tape. She said, I want your
Twisted.
name. And that was going to be one of the first things she did in office.
There's ways
And then
to
she got
do the
real
foreign
serious
bot
blowback,
thing,
and
right?
understandably so, because it'd be a massive
nothing's perfect.
expansion of government.
deny that?
Actually,
we have anonymous speech. The Federalist Papers were written with anonymous writers. Jay, Madison, and Hamilton, they went under Publius. It's something that's important, and especially given how conservatives have been attacked and they've lost jobs and they've been canceled. You know the regime would use that to weaponize that against our own people.
Okay,
It was a
so
bad
I have
idea,
to say-
and
I
she
have
should
to
own up to it. Come on, now, what's
I'm
he
going to
doing
give you
here?
15 seconds, and then there is the governor,
Okay.
former governor
Look,
of New
This
Jersey.
president-
Look,
Just
after the
because Ron is so
2016
hypocritical,
election.
because he actually went and tried to push a law that
They
would
were
stop
calling all
anonymous,
conservatives
people
online like,
from talking
"These
to the
must
press,
be
and went
bots."
so far to say
If you were a Trump
bloggers should
supporter,
have
they
to
were
register
accusing
with
you
the
of being a
state if they're
bot.
going to write about elected officials. It was in the check your newspaper. It was absolutely there.
Some
I have
legislators.
never
Reveals her
said
ammunition
government
is
should.
No more,
a
no more.
trample on your
You
constitutional
can come back
rights.
to it later. No,
This is
no.
more dangerous than the
You're
Democrats.
lying.
This section's over. Okay. Governor Christie.
Really?
Just that
I'm
piece.
usually not somebody who gets missed, but okay, let's go.
What's happening? Okay, I got you.
Oh, God, he
Listen,
made
you
a fat
endorsed
joke
Donald
about
Trump in
himself.
2016 and 2020.
He's
You
making
gave
it hard to
him
roast
an
him.
A for his first term.
That'll
Since
change
then,
in a few
however,
minutes
you've
when he
turned on
opens his
him,
mouth.
calling him a liar, a loser, a con man, and someone who cannot win. You've even said that you got into this race just to stop President Trump. His approval rating with Republicans is currently at 81%. Yours is at 25. Your best state is New Hampshire, and even there, 2/3 of GOP voters say they would be angry and disappointed if you won. Respectfully, Governor, you have not stopped Mr. Trump. And voters may wonder
Why
how
the
you could
fuck are you
possibly
here?
become the nominee of
That's
a
the
party
question.
that
Why the
does not
fuck are
appear
you
to like
here?
very much.
Yeah, well, look, Megan.
Please clap.
It's often very difficult to be the only person on the stage who's telling the truth. And the only person who is taking on what needs to be taken on. I look at my watch now. We're 17 minutes into this debate. And except for your little speech in the beginning.
Thicker than
we've had these
macaroni,
three
man.
acting
Thicker
as
than
if
your
The
waistline.
race is between the four of us. The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here, he's the one who, as you just put it, is way ahead in the polls. And yet, I've got these three guys who are all seemingly to compete with, Voldemort, he who shall not be named. They don't want to talk about it. The fact is that when you go and you say the truth about somebody who is a dictator, a bully, who has taken shots at everybody, whether they've given him great service or not over time, who dares to disagree with him, then I understand why these three are timid to say anything about it. Maybe it's because they have future aspirations. Maybe those future aspirations are now, or maybe they're 4
Maybe it's
years
because
from now. But the fact
they're
of the
not
matter is
trying
the
to
truth
blow
needs
their
to be told.
campaign up.
And for us to go 17 minutes without discussing the guy who has all those gaudy numbers you talked about is ridiculous. I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit. This is a guy who just said this past week
You
that he wants to
just
use the
pushed
Department of
Donald
Justice
Trump
to go
up
after
another
his
2
enemies
poll
when he gets in
points.
there. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he is unfit to be president, and there is no bigger issue in this race, Megan, than Donald Trump, and those numbers prove it.
Governor Christie.
Okay, I'm going to mute this here for a second. We're going to have a moment of silence for Chris Christie's campaign. Cheers, brother.
We'll be addressing that issue of Donald Trump in just a moment, but I'd like to first get to some questions on Israel.
Oh,
Governor DeSantis,
here we go.
Tonight, as we speak, the war is back on in Gaza. Israeli tanks are on the move and have surrounded the home of the leader of Hamas. 8 Americans have been held hostage in the tunnels beneath Gaza for 60 days now. American troops and warships in the Middle East are under attack. How far would you go as president to
Why
secure
are
the
they
release
there?
of those 8 American hostages? And would it include sending American forces into combat?
We have to look out for our people. When there are hostages, Commander-in-Chief, you have to do whatever you can to get them done. But the overall issue with this is This administration is trying to hobble Israel from being able to defend itself. They have a right to eliminate Hamas and win a total and complete victory so that they never have to deal with this again. Hamas wants nothing less than a second Holocaust. They would wipe off every single Jew off the map. They would destroy the state of Israel.
So let's be just like Hamas and what to
Israel, and then they do nothing
wipe
but
every
try to
Palestinian
kneecap
off
them
the
every
map.
step of the way. You should not try to direct their war effort. We should work together with them so that they can bring Hamas to heel. Look, I served in Iraq back in the day. I'm the only one running for president that served in the military. I understand that part of the world. It's not the best part of the world. We do have troops there that Biden is leaving basically as sitting ducks. And you have the Iranians that are attacking these troops, and he's responding with basically pinpricks. If you harm an American service member, you're going to have hell to pay when I'm president. We are not going to let our troops be sitting ducks. We also need to look at what's the underlying problem here. Iran. Biden is doing nothing to bring Iran to account. You got to turn the screws
let's
on
spread
them.
the
Don't
war
let
to
them have
another
any oil
country.
revenue. The money they get, they send to Hamas, they send to Hezbollah, and they foment jihad throughout the Middle East. So Biden has empowered Iran just like he's empowered other adversaries. We stand with Israel. They're our best ally in the Middle East. We have a unique relationship
Or you
with
can be
them,
like Donald Trump
you
and
will
use
see a
pressure
strong
through
relationship when I'm the
Russia
president of the
to
United
put
States.
on Iran to keep Iran under wraps.
This is the problem with the first three debates. Ron gets asked a question and he doesn't answer it. Your question was very specific. You said, would you send American troops as commander-in-chief? And he went on to this minute and 30-second hosanna about his knowledge of the military and what we need to do, and didn't answer your question. Look, when you're president of the United States, you're not going to have a choice whether to answer that question or not. Your generals, your Secretary of Defense, your Secretary of State, your National Security Advisor are going to present plans to you. They're going to look at you and say, do we go or don't we, Mr. President? And you can't give a 90-second speech about your military service, as laudable as it is.
Would you send American troops in to rescue those hostages?
Absolutely, absolutely. If they had a plan which showed me that we could get
Yeah,
them out
DeSantis
safely,
did
you're
say,
damn right I'd
yeah,
send
we
the
go to
American
war
army
with
in there
Iran.
to get our people home and get them home now. And I'll answer that question directly.
Thank you, Governor Christie.
Jeez.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you have said it was irresponsible for Ambassador Haley to call Hamas's terrorist rampage an attack on America and for her to, quote, rabidly shout, finish them, end quote. The Hamas terror attack left dozens of Americans dead and was the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Why wouldn't it be a good thing to finish Hamas?
Finish them was purposefully vague in a discussion that included Iran, which is what I objected to. And I think it's, as U.S. president, you have to be responsible. What happened to Israel was dead wrong. What Hamas did was medieval. It was subhuman. It was immoral. And we have to call that out for what it is on October 7th. But to say that that was an attack on America fails a basic test. I mean, Nick, if you can't tell the difference between where Israel is and the U.S. is on a map, I can have my 3-year-old son show you the difference. That is irresponsible because it has major consequences, because that doesn't leave room for what actually is an attack on America. So I believe I have the strongest pro-Israel position actually on the stage, even though it's a little bit different than the standard GOP talking points. And it is this. The founding vision of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, the George Washington figure of Israel, what did he believe? He believed that we don't want, as Israel, to depend on the fleeting sympathies
I'm really
of the
trying to
West
listen
and
to
have
what
our
they're
hands
saying
tied.
here.
I think Israel has an absolute right to defend itself to the fullest, without the U.S., the UN, or the EU, or anybody else second-guessing their decisions, as the Biden administration, guess what, is now starting to do. I think that's a more deeply pro-Israel position than anybody else, and it keeps the actual lines of accountability clear because it is a pro-American position. And as leader of the United States of America, just as a father of 2 sons, my sole moral duty is to my family. As your next president, my sole moral duty is to you, the people of this country. That's how I'm going to lead. So I'll tell Bibi, you smoke the terrorists on your southern border, you go ahead and we're rooting for you. We're going to smoke the terrorists on our own southern border, and that's how I'm going to lead
There we
this country.
go.
But Americans
I've got to
were killed
give
in that
Vivek
attack.
credit,
Americans were
man.
killed in that attack. And so if you looked at this terrorist attack and the
What
number
were
of
they
Americans,
doing
this would
there?
be one
Why
of the
were
top
they
10
there?
terrorist attacks in American history. So our own people were killed in that attack. And I think it's absolutely appropriate to point that out and to say that we're in this together, and we are going to
So
work
if
with
North
Israel so that
Koreans
these
come in
people are brought to
contact with
justice.
fentanyl in
I agree with
America,
that.
do they get to attack
Ambassador
Mexico?
Haley, I'm coming to you. Iran is on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state. The Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian military leaders gave the green light for Hamas's attack on Israel. You said in last month's debate that, by contrast to the Biden administration's
Americans
approach to
are there.
Iran,
Why are
you would,
Americans
quote,
there?
punch them once and
Like,
punch them hard.
Sure, travel the
saying that
world,
it's
see
time to
things,
bomb
but if
Iran?
you go somewhere
No,
else
I
and
was
you
not
get
saying it's time to bomb Iran, but I will tell you, I dealt with Iran
kidnapped.
every day when I was at the United Nations.
Yes,
and
we should
they only
negotiate,
respond
but
to
don't go to
strength.
war.
What they don't respond to is when you weaken the sanctions like they did on Iran that allowed China to send them billions to fill their proxies. What they don't respond to is when you give $6 billion for 5 hostages. That only makes them want more hostages. What they don't respond to is when they do 140
Really? Tell that
strikes
to-
on our men and women in Syria and Iraq.
Tell that to
and
Ronald
we do
Reagan.
nothing but just some small shots back. You've got to punch them, you've got to punch them hard, and let them know that. That's the only way they're going to respond. So the way you do that is you go after their infrastructure in Syria and Iraq where they're hitting our soldiers. That's what you do, and then that's when they'll back off. The problem is you have to see
Where
that
they're
all of
hitting
these
our
are
soldiers.
related.
Why are
If
our
you look at the
soldiers
fact
there?
Russia was losing that war
You
with Ukraine. Putin
fucking
had hit rock
warmongers.
bottom. They had raised the draft age to 65. He
Globalist,
was getting drones
globalist,
and
globalist.
missiles, drones from Iran, missiles from North Korea. And so what happened? When he hit rock bottom, all of a sudden, his other friend, Iran, Hamas goes and invades Israel and butchers those people on Putin's birthday. There is no one happier right now than Putin because all of the attention America had on Ukraine suddenly went to Israel. And that's what they were hoping is going to happen. We need to make sure that we have full clarity that there is a reason, again, that Taiwanese want to help Ukrainians because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want to help Israelis because they know that if Iran wins, Russia wins. These are all connected. But what wins all of that is
Oh,
a strong
Jesus.
America, not a weak America.
Jesus.
And that's what Joe Biden's given us.
I want to say one thing about the tie to Ukraine, if I may.
Boeing.
So foreign policy
former employer,
experience
Boeing, is clapping.
not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine.
And Chris
And I think
Christie.
those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in
See, I can
eastern
hit the
Ukraine
mute
that they
button.
want to send
These
our troops to
moderators are
actually fight
coughing
for.
right over the damn debate.
Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you, that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after, has real foreign policy experience. It takes an outsider to see this through. Look at the blank expression. She doesn't know the names of the provinces that she wants to actually fight for. And there's her puppet masters right there. The donors right there that are playing her like the puppet
Okay,
master.
hold on.
Let me just say something here. You know, his reasonable peace deal in Ukraine, he made it clear. Give them all the land they've already stolen. Promise Putin you'll never put Ukraine in Russia, and then trust Putin not to have a relationship with China. Let me tell you something. That's no
That's
reasonable.
not my deal. That's not my deal,
Yes,
Chris.
it's exactly what you
I'll
said.
describe
You
my
do
deal
this
to
at
you.
every debate.
I'll tell you
you
exactly
say
what it
no,
is.
don't
I'll
interrupt
tell
me.
you
I
what the
didn't
deal is.
interrupt you. Okay? You
Tell
say
them
this.
about how you
You
want to
do
send those
this.
kids to die.
You
Go
do
for it.
this at
Ramaswamy.
every debate. You go out on the stump and you say
this is
something.
spicy. I love
All
it.
of us see it on video. We confront you out on the debate stage. You say you didn't say it, and then you back away. And I want to
I'll
say
tell you
one.
exactly
no,
what I said, Chris.
I'm not
Finish.
done yet.
Well, this
now
is
look.
this is
And here's
nonsense.
what-
This man is spewing.
Come on, moderators.
Let me tell you something. This is the fourth debate that you would be voted in the first 20 minutes as the most obnoxious blowhard in America. So shut up for a little while.
America likes not obnoxious blowhards.
We're gonna let you respond.
We don't like
We're gonna let you
douchebags.
respond.
I'll take
Let him
that.
finish.
I want to say something else. We're now 25 minutes into this debate, and he has insulted
Man,
Nikki
he must
Haley's
be watching his
basic
watch the whole time.
intelligence. Not her positions, her basic intelligence. She doesn't know regions. She wouldn't be able to find something on a map that his 3-year-old could find. Look, If you want to disagree on issues, that's fine. And Nikki and I disagree on some issues. But I'll tell you this, I've known her for 12 years, which is longer than he's even started to vote in the Republican primary. And while we disagree about some issues and we disagree about who should be president of the United States, what we don't disagree on is this is a smart, accomplished woman, and you should stop insulting her.
So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take several times over. So
Oh God, Chris Christie with the women vote.
We learned three things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York.
Yeah.
So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race.
Let me tell you.
When it comes to Nikki, I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war, you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't heard a time when you aren't
and we're going to be
speaking.
done. So listen up to this, is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual
stunned,
fraud.
man.
These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion
Welcome,
of our national
DNL
debt
Mentors,
due
to the
these
chat tonight.
toxic neocons.
Good seeing you, brother.
can
I
put
already drank my
lipstick on a
first
Dick
glass of
Cheney,
whiskey.
It
Gonna
is
pour a
still
little
a
more?
fascist neocon.
Thank
and
you,
you have to
Mr.
see that
Ramaswamy.
today.
Thank you, Mr.
It's Dick Cheney
Ramaswamy.
all over again in this party.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. 15 seconds.
Name the
Cheers, brother.
provinces. Neither of you could even
Mr.
name the first thing about
Ramaswamy,
Eastern
thank you.
Europe.
I think we've had enough of this.
and Crimea.
Think about that.
Let me just.
It's actually Crimea is the wrong
All right,
answer.
all right. The floor is Christie's.
All right, let me just say this. You know, this is the kind of thing where he talks about experience. You know, I was the U.S. attorney in New Jersey when the terrorist attacks were launched against the United States in 2001.
Oh, fucking
I brought the
come
first two cases in this country against terrorists who tried
You're
to attack us
gonna
again.
name drop
And I know
9/11
about the
as
threat of
foreign
terrorism
policy
and
experience?
bullying in this country and around the world. And at that time, he was learning about
I
the
was
provinces
working in
Ukraine,
another state
sitting with
when
his
another
smart-ass
state
mouth at
got
Harvard.
hit by
That's what
terrorists.
was going
Therefore, I
on.
have foreign policy
And so,
experience.
the fact of the matter is, and back then he was a Democrat. So you know, the fact is that all he knows how to do.
Well, you were busy hugging
all
Barack
he knows
Obama
how
getting
to
him
do.
elected.
Thank you.
All he knows how to do is insult good people who have committed their lives to public service and not say anything that moves the ball down the field for the United States.
All right, thank you, Governor Christie. We are going to take a quick break, cool things down a little bit.
Fucking
when we come
wow,
back, we're going to
folks.
tackle issues on the southern border. We'll be back.
Mute that. Bring it down for a minute. Wow, we have a very spicy Vivek Ramaswamy tonight. Telling Nikki Haley she can't find Israel on a map. Well, saying she can't tell the difference between the United States and Israel on a map. Oh my God. And Christie coming out with the rescuing the damsel in distress. Like, how dare you talk about this strong, intelligent woman this way? I shall protect her by saying things to you. Jesus. Oh my Lord. Oh yeah, DNL Mentors in the chat with a good comment here. I was watching 9/11 on the TV, therefore I have foreign policies experience. Yes. I mean, Chris Christie starts off like with a very strong point, and it sounds like he might turn the corner into saying something spicy at Vivek Ramaswamy, something he couldn't respond to. And then he always finishes it off with something dumb like that. Like Christie going after Trump when Trump's not on the stage. Like, all you got to do to go after Trump is just say, look, I'm better than him. I'm better than him at this. I'm better than him at that. But being like, Trump's a coward and blah, 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 and he's a criminal and he's being indicted. And come on, Christie. You're literally losing more and more Republicans every time you spout these kind of narratives. Let's see. Got DNL Mentors with another chat here. Saying nice things to her, no less. Now we know Z only needs to say nice things and she'll blush and be putty in his hands. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if this is the thing, right? If these candidates, if Nikki Haley and Chris Christie especially, like if they're so worried about decorum and politeness, right? And yet they're talking so tough about foreign policy issues, right? We're just gonna tell Iran who's boss. Yeah, we're gonna tell Iran who's boss. Andy Watt says, yo, welcome Andy to the chat. Cheers, man. He also says, can I join the StreamYards? I'm not doing guests today. I am throwing around the idea of potentially doing a call-in show in the future. So stay tuned. I recommend you click that like button, click that follow button, follow the social media below, because when I announce a call-in show, we'll do that. The last kind of call-in show type thing I did, nobody called in. It was, I tried to do it through Twitter Spaces, and that didn't exactly work out. But yeah, we'll definitely do one soon. I'm not doing it tonight because, quite frankly, I've already had too much to drink, and I'm trying to be careful because we are also on YouTube. Well, I guess you are on YouTube as well. You're watching on YouTube, so yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack, but feel free to, whatever you feel you would like to say, feel free to say in the chat. I'm not afraid to post it. You know, I'll address whatever you have to say in the chat, and we could kind of have a conversation that way. But as right now, because I'm watching this debate and I'm trying to kind of keep an eye on when the debate stream's coming back, and I'm going to be doing back and forth with the live stream here, having another person on might kind of make that a little more difficult. So I'm just going to kind of save that for another time. But yeah, definitely. In fact, down in the comments, leave me a comment. If you're watching this on demand later or whatever, leave me a comment if you're all down for a call-in show. If you're willing to call into one of my future programs, I'm willing to talk about any issue here. I really am. Now, granted, there are some issues that I'm just not that educated about. I know Sanglin earlier asked me to cover, I guess there's some trains in some foreign countries whose computers are run by software that have some DRM issues, so you can't really repair the train without going to the original manufacturer. And I've heard some issues like that with some local city buses and some other things. So, we got...
DeSantis, I'd like to start with you. You have pledged to send the military to the southern border on day one of your administration with orders to shoot, quote, stone cold dead anyone illegally entering with a backpack that you believe contains
so they're talking about
fentanyl.
the border.
Critics have called this a shoot first, ask questions later policy that would amount to extrajudicial killing. You are a former military lawyer. Why do you think this idea of yours would be legal?
The drug cartels are invading our country, and they are killing our citizens by the tens of thousands every year. We had a situation in Florida. There was an 18-month-old baby that was crawling on the floor of an Airbnb rental. There was fentanyl residue on the carpet, and the baby died. Is this acceptable in this country? I know the elites in D.C., they don't care. They don't care that fentanyl's ravaging your community. They don't care that illegal aliens are ravaging our community and overwhelming our community.
But
the
again,
Commander-in-Chief not only has a right, you have a responsibility to fight back against
these people. Is the homie crossing the border responsible for fentanyl on the floor of an Airbnb?
Terrorist organizations, and we will identify just like we would anywhere. When I was in Iraq,
or is that the previous renter of the Airbnb and the fucking Airbnb owner not cleaning the Airbnb properly?
You didn't know if someone had a bomb, an IED attached, or not. And so you had to make a judgment based on intelligence, based on positive identification. but we're going to be able to get the intelligence on these cartel people. And here's the thing. If we had a wall across the southern border, which I support, this would not have happened. We need to build a wall across the southern border. I'll get it done, and Mexico is supposed to pay for it. Remember, here's how you do that. I am going to have fees on remittances from foreign workers when they send the money back to foreign countries. We're going to tax it, and we're going to build a wall with that.
How are you going to do
yes,
that?
you should have had that. But
How are
we
you going to do
don't
that?
have
With
it.
bank
I'm going to
tyranny?
build it, but we have to lean in on this problem. I am not going to sit there and allow mothers to lose more kids because of fentanyl overdose. I am not going to sit there and let sex trafficking go unabated or human trafficking go unabated. There's going to be a new sheriff in town, and these drug cartels better buckle up.
Thank you. Ambassador Haley, you have pledged to catch and deport all migrants who are here in this country illegally. But then you said in Londonderry, New Hampshire last month that you will not deport those who are working and paying taxes.
Sorry, that was Sanglet who said that
feeding
here
off
to
the
me.
system. Which is it?
So first of all, what I said is all of the 7 or 8 million illegals that have come under Biden's watch absolutely have to go back. We have to stop the incentive of what's bringing them over here in the first place. Biden just gave
Sanglet, I know where
temporary
Hunter's going to be
protected
Wednesday.
status to
Next Wednesday, he's going to be in
500,000
front of Congress.
Venezuelans. That's 500,000 social security cards. That's 500,000 driver's licenses. And I know from my time at the United Nations, the
Uh-oh. Got lag
first thing
again.
they do is pick up the phone and said, we came over, come on over. And that's what sends more. You have to go and deport these people so they know it can't happen again. For those that have been here longer than that, we've got to start seeing who is it, how long have they been here.
Welcome
have
to
they
Salty
been
Saying in
vetted?
the chat.
Have they
Cheers,
paid
brother.
taxes? Have they been working? And figure out who else is out there. But what I know
And yes,
is my
Donald Trump
parents
is winning
came
this
here
debate
legally.
again.
They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended
Although
by
Vivek
those
is
that
strong.
are coming illegally. We can't let them skip the line. But when you talk about fentanyl like you did before, let's look at something else. Yes, I think we should send special operations over and take out the cartels. I think we should do a remain in Mexico.
Yeah, let's
policy
just
so
send
they
troops
never step foot
everywhere.
in U.S. soil in the first place. But look at where fentanyl came from. Let's go to the heart of the matter. It came from China. That's why we need to end all normal trade relations with China until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. I promise you, they need our economy. They will immediately stop that. But this is where Trump went wrong. Trump was good on trade, but that's all he was with China. Because here he allowed fentanyl to continue to come over. He continued to allow them to he would give them technology that would build up their military and hurt us. He allowed the Chinese infiltration for them to buy up farmland, to put money in our universities, and to continue to do things that were harmful for America. We now have a spy base in Cuba and police stations, and Trump didn't do anything about it.
Thank you.
China, though, I mean, listen, this is rich because when she was governor of South Carolina, she was the #1 ranked governor of bringing the CCP into her state. She wrote a love letter to the Chinese ambassador saying how great a friend China is. You can look at it. We put it on our website, rondesantis.com. There's also a video of her as governor standing in front of a Chinese flag with a Chinese business saying that she now works for them, talking about this Chinese company. So she's been very weak on China. Now, here's the problem. The rhetoric is different, but her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15 seconds, Ambassador.
Oh, shit. The two of them are going to keep arguing
First of
about this all
he's
night.
mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him, and now they support me. The second thing is he has a company, a Chinese company, UGAS, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations
American company.
between them and their employees. They are tied to the Communist Chinese Party. Jinko Solar is another one. They went and expanded. You gave $2 million in subsidies.
I banned
and
China from buying land in the state of
And the
Florida.
Department of
I
Homeland-
ejected the Confucius Institute. Nikki Haley brought Confucius Institutes to the universities in South
That
Carolina.
is not
I
true.
ejected them. So I have a record of standing up and do what's right. And here's the thing.
You have a record of lying.
She's trying to say things like that. Even the liberal media groups that usually if I say the sky is blue, they'll fact check me and say that's wrong. They looked at her charges. They said it was totally false, that they could not find one instance of me recruiting a Chinese business coming to Florida. You know why? Because we never recruited any Chinese businesses to the state of Florida.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy. Over the past year,
Yeah,
fentanyl
Salty,
has killed more
it's
than
like they're trying
75,000
to
Americans,
give Trump
1,000
ammo.
of them right here in Alabama. You have vowed to use the military to, quote, annihilate drug labs inside Mexico, something the president of Mexico said would be a hostile act. But fentanyl can easily be made anywhere, and labs that are shut down can easily and quickly be replaced.
What about the California
Are your tough
biolabs?
enforcement policies offering false hope to a country racked by addiction?
To the contrary, I don't think it's going to have to come to that if we deal with the actual demand side problem that we also have in this country. I mean, the easy part is talking about how we're going to use our military to secure the border. I will, and I believe that everybody else wants to do the same thing. But the harder part is dealing with the crisis of purpose and meaning, the mental health epidemic raging across this country like wildfire. And there's a reason why after the opioid crisis, you see fentanyl.
There we go.
And even after we get fentanyl, and we are going to be sure to make sure we do it, this one is worse for many reasons. They're illegally lacing it into pharmaceuticals, so it's more dangerous. But we're deluding ourselves. The real false promise here is thinking that we're going to have dealt with that underlying mental health epidemic in this country by just dealing with the demand side of it. But I want to get back to this issue of the root cause, because a lot of these are coming from labs in Wuhan, China, of all places. Drug materials that are going to the Mexican drug cartels that they're pumping across that southern border like a modern opium war. I think it is going to take a U.S. president that's going to have a very different conversation with Xi Jinping than what Joe Biden just had in California. I will tell Xi Jinping, you will not only not buy land in this country or donate to universities in this country, U.S. businesses won't expand into the Chinese market until they're playing by the same set of rules. And the same country that's putting fentanyl into illegal pharmaceuticals in Mexico, it's no coincidence, is the exact same country that also unleashed hell on the world with the COVID-19 pandemic. We also have to hold them accountable with every financial lever that we have available. That is what it actually means to stand with a spine.
At least he's
And you mark
listening.
my
That's
words,
more
if
than
we're
what
willing
you
to
could
stand
say
with a
for other
spine,
people.
China will absolutely have to fold because they're in a tougher spot than we are. And then we're back to playing by the same set of rules.
Thank you, Mr.
That's the answer.
Ramaswamy. Thank you. Let's talk about the economy. Ambassador Haley.
The economy.
Homeownership has always been part of the American dream, but it's increasingly out of reach for younger Americans. This year, mortgage rates reached 30-year highs. Home prices have risen $190,000 over the past decade. Is this the free market at work? Or should the federal government do something to make homes more affordable?
Well, first of all, I mean, you're exactly right. My daughter just got married, and I saw how hard it was for her and her husband to buy a home. Right now, the average homeowner in America is 49 years old. You've got young people everywhere. That used to be the American dream, and now it's out of reach. But you look at what happened. You first of all look at what the Fed did. The Fed did a terrible job when they allowed all of that money to go through. You saw the Treasury bond rates go up. That affected mortgage rates, that affected automobile rates, that affected insurance rates. And so now we have a high interest rate. You've got a supply issue. Ask any builder. The supply issues have continued to be there. That's caused the rate to go up.
What about the auto industry?
And then you've got insurances that have gone up. And so what you have is a lot of younger people who, one, can't afford a home, but two, the banks aren't lending them any money. They've made the regulations so hard that they don't want to give loans on mortgages anymore. So what we have to do is we have to open it up. We have to, one, grow our economy so that people have more money in their pockets. We've got to look at the supply chain and make sure that we are funneling that so that builders don't have to sit there and go overseas to find things. And then we need to make sure that we really stop paying down this debt, make sure that we stop the borrowing, stop the spending. I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels, because our kids are not going to forgive us for all the spending that happened. And as much as everybody wants to talk about how Donald Trump had a good economy, $9 trillion in debt he did just in 4 years. And we're all paying the price of that, including those mortgage prices.
We're going to come back to President Trump, I promise. Governor DeSantis, the latest News Nation Decision Desk poll found that inflation tops the worries of American voters. 61% say they're very concerned, and the working class is hardest hit.
She never met a
Economists
place
say
that
this was
she doesn't
fueled
want to
by
send
a
troops
glut
to.
of federal spending. The Biden administration has added $6 trillion to the national debt so far, but President Trump wasn't exactly a penny pincher. His administration added $7.8 trillion. Do Republicans, including President
During
Trump,
a
share
pandemic,
the blame for inflation? And what concrete
most
steps
states
would
were sending
President
people home
DeSantis,
from work.
take to help Americans make ends meet?
The borrowing, printing, and spending of money was both parties in Washington, D.C. That's just a fact. These Republicans in Washington have spent. It's driven your prices higher, and it's driven your interest rates to the point where you can't afford. I met a young fella in Iowa. He had graduated college a couple years ago, and he's like, Governor, I don't have a chance. I'm gainfully employed.
Yeah.
He's like, I have no chance to afford a home and start a family. That is taking the American dream away from people. So we're going to get the inflation down. We're going to get the interest rates down. We are going to reduce spending, and I will be willing to veto, and I veto
The only way to get inflation down is to skyrocket interest
We're also going to open
rates.
up all of our domestic energy for production. Lower your gas prices. Lower the price of fuel.
That's why an auto loan's like
That's gonna help the
9%
economy.
right
It'll
now.
also help jobs, and we'll do it. But, you know, another thing that's burdening young
I know,
people
I've been looking for
are
a
these
car.
student loans. Now, I don't support having a truck driver having to pay a student loan for someone that got a degree in gender studies. That is wrong. We should not have taxpayers do that. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to get to the root cause of the problem. These student loans are going to be backed by the universities because they need to have an incentive to produce gainful employment for people. They should not be indulging in ideological studies. They should be focusing on things that work. And we're going to take some of this money and we're going to move it to actual vocational training. In Florida, we doubled apprenticeships. We have
Damn
more
straight.
truck drivers. These are in-demand
That's a good
skills.
domestic
Don't let
policy.
anybody tell you that the only
See,
way
this is
you can
why I
be
like
successful
DeSantis.
through a
I
four-year
like him
brick and Ivy
domestically.
degree. That's
You
the one
should
way
be
you can
running for
be,
president.
Not the only way, and we're going to fix that problem in the United States of America.
Be
Mr.
the carbon
Ramaswamy,
copy that
Ukraine
other
praised
other states can
cryptocurrency like Bitcoin
take on.
as an opt-out from our, quote, broken financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it. The head of the largest international crypto exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas.
Oh, come
You say
on.
your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually
Uh-oh. A little bit of lag.
that are writing regulations that Congress never gave them the authority to write. And the good news is a U.S. president can absolutely fix that. That takes a U.S. president with a spine. So what I've said is in my administration, by the end of year one, we will have a 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats. We will shut down government agencies that should not exist. We will rescind any regulation that fails the test of West Virginia versus EPA, which is the most important Supreme Court case of our lifetime, that said if Congress didn't delegate that to an administrative agency, then it's unconstitutional. These are seismic changes. These are big changes that the next president can deliver without asking Congress for permission or for forgiveness. And I want people to understand that distinction, because people have been sold myths by politicians for a long time saying, I'm going to work with Congress to do this or that. Much of what you've heard on the stage from the other politicians fit that description. They need Congress. The things that I'm promising you, this is what the leader of the executive branch gets to do under Article 2 of the Constitution.
Thank you, sir.
Cut down the bureaucracy. That's how we
Thank you,
grow our
sir.
economy and put the Federal Reserve in its
Yet
place. as
again,
part
the
of
first time we heard the word
No, no, no.
Constitution
90%
tonight,
reduction at the Fed.
You're out
We're
of time.
an hour
15
in.
seconds, Governor
So
DeSantis.
one of the
Almost.
dangers that we're going to face, Biden wants, is a
50
central
minutes
bank
in.
digital currency. They want to get rid of cash, crypto. They want to force you to do that. They'll take away your privacy. They will absolutely regulate your purchases. On day one as president, we take the idea of central bank digital currency and we throw it in the trash can. It'll be dead on arrival.
I agree with that.
Gotta get a break. Gotta get a break. Gotta have a whole second hour to get to. It's exciting. And when we come back, we got a big subject. Huge, you might even say. Donald Trump. Stay tuned.
Oh, look, we're going to talk about Donald Trump. Right? Chris Christie's going to get his wish. Right? We get to Trump-gasm all over the stage. I mean, look, Salty saying here's got a point, right? you know, part of the point for an election for me, right? Part of this whole debate process, election process is, okay, anyone you see in a presidential election on a media funded stage, they're all going to be globalists to some degree, right? They're all going to be anti-American to some degree. And to me, right now, Vivek Ramaswamy is the only one talking about the Constitution, talking about limiting the scope of American intervention to actually helping American lives. American dollars and troops and ships and bombs, you know, if we focus too much on what's going on outside the soil of America, and don't get me wrong, look, there's the whole argument about World War II. You know, we had to enter World War II so that it didn't wind up coming to our shores, whatever. Even though, like, Japan said they wouldn't do a ground invasion because there'd be a gun behind every rock, right? We Americans are strong on our own, but now we're in the nuclear era, right? Troops on the ground aren't necessarily a scary thing to America, but the fact that, you know, North Korea is trying to get nuclear arsenal, Iran trying to get a nuclear arsenal, you know, that scares people. So then you get people like Chris Christie trying to boogeyman these people, trying to dehumanize these other countries, and it works to some degree. I'm not saying that they're happy democracies that, you know, flourish at the will of their people. But America's not either, right? And I don't mean to be some leftist shit-talking America, you know, the greatness of America. You know, I believe, like, you know, Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy do that, you know, we have the capability of making this the best country in the world again. But right now, we've fooled ourselves. We've let the left wing, we've let communists, and when I say communists, understand that the planks of Marxism and the Communist Manifesto say central banking, centralized education, right? Those are two important factors in communism. And the fact that we want to throw a bunch of money printed by a central bank at an education system ran by globalist elites in public office is the problem America has right now. If we want to be America first, we need to decide that American children and American finances are of utmost importance. And that in the meantime, we can protect our borders. We can give our allies moral support. We can trade with our allies to make sure they're economically strong. But all this war hawking and warmongering and globalist fear-mongering, and talk about China this and Russia that. China and Russia, they're not invading America's borders right now. Their finger's not hovering over the nuclear button yet. And I'm sorry, but Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan are not of my concern. Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan don't get to decide whether or not your kids get to eat tonight. All right, the debate's coming back.
And less so for most of you on the front runner in this race, Donald Trump. We invited him to come tonight, as you know, but he declined to come. But we'd like to ask you a couple questions about him now. Ambassador Haley, former President Trump recently promised, if he's reelected, to bring back and expand his program restricting immigration from Muslim countries. Here he is in Iowa on October 16th.
No longer will we allow dangerous
come on, News Nation,
to get residency in our country. We're not going to let them stay here. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists, and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified.
Ambassador Haley, do you support President Trump's plan
News
for ideological freedom?
Nation.
Well, I don't think
That's
that you
a
have
dirty way to
straight-up
get
Muslim ban as much as you
Trump
look at the countries
into
that
the
have
debate.
terrorist activity that want to hurt Americans. You can ban those people from those countries. That's the way we should look at it, is which countries are a threat to us. You look at what came across the southern border. What worries me the most are those that came from Iran, from Yemen, from Lebanon, those areas where they say death to America. That's where you want to be careful. It's not about a religion. It's about a fact that certain countries are dangerous and are threats to us. A president has one job, and that's to keep Americans safe. And that's what we've got to do, is make sure that we have good national security in that process. And that's the way you should look at it, is where the terrorist threats are, how we're going to deal with it, and what we're doing about it. And the biggest threat we have right now is communist China. But you have to also look at what Iran and Russia are doing as well. And we need to be paying attention to that. That's why we have to focus on things like cyber, on space, on artificial intelligence, and not just the regular things that we've always focused on.
It's not just terrorism, though. That's important. But look what's happened in Europe. You have more anti-Semitism in Germany than at any time since Adolf Hitler. Why? Because they imported mass numbers of people who reject their culture. Europe is committing suicide with the mass migration, and it's illegal and legal. Nikki Haley said the other day there should be no limits on legal immigration, and that corporate CEOs should set the policy on that. There needs to be limits on immigration, and we should not be importing people from cultures that are hostile. So, for example, I said with the Gaza, you had some of the squad wanted to import 300,000 people from the Gaza Strip. I said, no, we're not taking anyone from Gaza because of the anti-Semitism and because they reject American culture. So we've got to get smart about this. We cannot let the United States be like Europe.
So there's lower-hanging fruit here, if I may just hit this point, because it relates to what they just said. There are things that the government can do right now that nobody's talking about amongst the professional politicians in this race. What about all of the illegals who are already here? Here's the answer. There's 287G in the law. That is a provision that already allows ICE agents to deputize or allow local law enforcement to enforce those ICE warrants. And it shocks me that nobody in the Republican Party is talking about it, because there are 1 million then officials, law enforcement officials in this country. And against that backdrop, we absolutely have the ability to deport anybody who's in this country illegally.
Thank you,
we
Mr.
need to be talking about it more in
Ramaswamy.
this country.
Thank you. Governor Christie.
I actually did that as governor of South Carolina.
Governor Christie asked last night in Iowa whether he would be a dictator if he wins a second term in office. Donald Trump quipped, no, quote, except for day one, promising to seal the southern border. He has also pledged to begin the largest deportation operation in American history, saying that migrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. He has pledged to round up and expel an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. What do you make of that plan?
I think it's completely predictable. I mean, look, he's made it very clear. There's no mystery to what he wants to do. He started off his campaign by saying, I am your retribution. 8 years ago, he said, I am your voice. This is an angry, bitter man who now wants to be back as president because he wants to exact retribution on anyone who has disagreed with him, anyone who has tried to hold him to account.
Oh,
for
God,
his own
come
conduct.
on.
And every one of these policies.
Are you saying the media and
are
the
about
fucking Biden
pursuing
administration
a
has
plan of
treated Donald
retribution.
Trump
And yet,
fairly?
at the first debate, my 3 colleagues on this stage, when asked if he would be convicted of federal felonies, would they still support him, raised their hand, looked into the camera, and let everybody know that they would still support him even if convicted of federal felonies. Federal felonies,
Yes.
by the way.
Yes.
Federal
Go
felonies,
Vivek.
which
Go
involve
Vivek.
our election process, federal felonies which involve the most sensitive of our governmental secrets, federal felonies where he instructed others to commit crimes, folks who are now agreeing
You talking
to
about
go
the
to jail
archive
because of what they
boxes?
did in his name. So do I think he was kidding?
You talking about the
when he said
archive
he's a
boxes?
dictator? All you have to do is look at the history. And that's why failing to speak out against him, making excuses for him, pretending that somehow he's a victim, empowers him You want to know why those poll numbers are where they are?
Christy,
Because
you're
folks
playing
like
up
these
to the
three guys on
fucking-
the stage make it seem like his conduct is acceptable. Let me make it clear.
Oh, Jesus.
His conduct is unacceptable. He's unfit.
Oh, come on.
And be
Internet.
careful of what you're going to get. If you ever got another Donald Trump term, he's letting you know, I am your retribution. He will only be, Elizabeth, he will only be his own retribution. He doesn't care for the American people. It's Donald Trump first.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis. Thank you.
Boo.
Governor DeSantis. Donald Trump would be older on day one of his second presidency than Joe Biden was on day one of his first. You have said Trump is not the same man he was when he ran in 2016. Your campaign is running ads showing Trump confused. And you have said he has, quote, lost the zip on his fastball. You seem to be saying Donald Trump is no longer mentally fit to be president. Is that what you think?
Look, he is showing, Father Time is undefeated. The idea that we're going to put someone up there that's almost 80 and there's going to be no effects from that, we all know that that's not true. And so we have an opportunity to do a next generation of leaders and really be able to move this country forward. We also need a president that can serve 2 terms.
Okay, but Vivek is the next generation.
I don't think he can be able to get elected. The Democrats want him to be the nominee. We see that. They are going to turn the screws the minute if he got the nomination.
But do you think he's
you're going to see
mentally
it.
fit to be
I think
president?
we need to have somebody younger. I think when you get up to 80, I don't think it's a job for that. But let me just respond to some of the things there. Look, the media is making a big deal about what he said about some of these comments. I would just remind people that is not how he governed. He didn't even fire Dr. Fauci. He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't clean up the swamp. He said he was going to drain it. He did not drain it. He said he was going to build the wall and have Mexico pay for it. We don't have the wall.
Shut up, I can cook
he
to the
did say
chat.
in 2016
Cheers.
he'd have the largest
Good seeing you,
deportation
lady.
program in history. He deported
So I
less
guess I
than
gotta take
Barack
back what I
Obama
said
did
earlier about
when Barack
women
Obama
watching my
was president.
program.
So some of these policies he ran on in 16, I was cheering him on then, but he didn't deliver it. Here's what I can promise people. 100% of the things I promised as governor,
that's the last of my
I
whiskey
delivered
for
on those
tonight. Anyone
promises.
new shows
I beat
up,
the
I-
left time
I
and
ain't got
time
no more-
again, and that's
got
what
no
I'll
more.
do for you as president. We got to start winning again as a party. Yes, win the election, but we've got to start getting these issues. I will go in and wreak havoc on this bureaucracy. You will see people fired.
All
and
I
we're gonna
hear
bring
is
a
we've
reckoning
gotta
for how this
cave to
government
bipartisan
handles
bullshit.
2019
Here's what
beyond
irritates
that.
Now, Chris, you had your chance to wax eloquent on Donald Trump. You've been doing it all this whole race.
Why doesn't he just
I
answer
wanna-
the question? The question was very direct. Is he fit to be president or isn't he? The rest of the speech is interesting, but completely non-responsive. And if we were in a courtroom, they'd strike the answer and say, Governor DeSantis.
No, they
you're a
wouldn't.
smart-
You're not
You're a
disagreeing
smart
with
man.
him. You're
No,
just.
they would.
No, they
Oh
wouldn't,
my
They would
Chris.
God.
strike the answer
No, they wouldn't.
because you're not answering
You
it.
just
Is he
don't
fit?
like. You
Is he
have your.
fit?
And
you
you're
have
not
your
the
thing.
debate
You're
moderator,
the
you
thing.
No,
fucking-
not my thing.
We don't-
He's the thing. Is
We
he
do
fit
not
or
want
isn't
to
he?
do.
You
something
fucking
that's
Talking
boogie
about
already-
being
boogie.
80 years
It doesn't
old.
mean
Ron,
that somebody
is he
couldn't
fit?
get elected. That's
Ron,
up to the
DeSantis,
people that
Governor
decide.
DeSantis, let
But
him-
I
let
think
him
we have an
finish.
opportunity
Or
to
isn't
do
he?
somebody who's
Governor
in.
DeSantis,
Too
let
far.
him finish.
Ron,
Okay.
is he
I think we have an opportunity
Guys,
to do
guys,
somebody
guys,
who
no
is in the
talking
prime
over
of their
each other.
life.
Yes.
We don't have to
No
worry
talking over.
about all the
I've
stuff
got
with
Ron.
confidence.
Stop.
We can get it
Stop.
done.
Oh,
Stop.
We'll do it.
Jesus
I'm gonna come to you.
Christ.
Finish.
Look, Father Time is undefeated. I don't know how he would
keeps-
score on a test.
he keeps
but I
saying
know
Father
this.
Time is
We have an
undefeated. Well, you're
opportunity
getting
to
old
nominate
too,
someone and
folks.
elect someone for 2 terms who's going to be spitting nails on day 1 and for 8 years
So you
deliver
do think he's
big
fit?
result.
You
We
do
should
think?
not nominate somebody
He won't
who's,
answer.
who's almost 80 years old.
He's afraid to answer.
No, I'm not.
You have to
No.
either you're afraid or you're not listening.
No, it's not.
There's a
You
simple
don't wanna
question.
hear the
Is he
answer.
fit?
Governor DeSantis.
Is he
Oh,
fit?
Jesus
Nobody
Christ.
can hear this.
I
No
get
one
that.
can hear you. They can't hear you. You finish, and then you get it back.
All right.
You know, look, I'm a simple guy, okay? I hear the question, and I answer it. Is he fit or isn't he? I'll concede you're fit, Ron. You're a new generation. You're 44
But he didn't
years
say
old. I
Trump.
wish I was still 44 years old.
You're not saying if
Okay.
Trump's fit or not, you
Well,
fat fuck.
congratulations.
Are
I
you
still take
fit?
45.
Are you fit?
Is he fit or isn't he? And this is the problem with my 3 colleagues. They're afraid to offend. And
See,
let
I
me
wanna-
tell
I
you
wanna-
something.
I wanna
If
say
you're
this, Chris
afraid,
Hold on, Mr.
if
Ramaswamy.
you're afraid to offend
Vivek's
Donald
like,
Trump,
I'll offend you,
then
motherfucker.
what are you going to do when you sit across from President Xi, you sit across from the Ayatollah, you sit across from Putin? You have to be willing to offend with the truth and
It's
answer
not
the
about
question.
offending.
Fit or
Okay,
unfit.
listen.
That's the guy that 30 minutes ago was like, don't insult the
It's not
woman's
about
intelligence.
And then we're moving
It's
on.
about pointing out, do you
You
want to elect
fucking
somebody who
hypocrite.
will be older than Biden was when he went in 2021? I don't think he's as bad as Biden was at all, but I do think that over a 4-year period, it is not a job for somebody that's pushing 80. We need somebody that's younger. We need somebody that's going to be able to go in there and clean house on day one
So
and
here's-
do it for 2
ahead.
terms. And I'll be able to
Here's
do
my
that.
issue with all 3 of my other colleagues on this debate stage, is all 3 of them have been licking Donald Trump's boots for years for money and endorsements. Ron DeSantis, you've been a great governor, but you would have never been one without actually begging Donald Trump for that endorsement.
And you
Same
attacked
thing
him in
for
your
Nikki
book a
Haley.
year ago.
Same thing with Chris Christie as a lobbyist, begging them for COVID money for his special interests in New Jersey, prepping him for the debates last time around.
Yes, Salty,
These people
he
are now
did.
Monday morning quarterbacking
Well,
some
he
decision
said Nikki.
made. I think the real enemy is
He
not
didn't say
Donald
women,
Trump.
he said Nikki.
It's not even Joe Biden. It is the deep state that at least Donald Trump attempted to take on. And if you want somebody who's going to speak truth to power, then vote for somebody who's going to speak the truth to you. Why am I the only person on the stage, at least, who can say that January 6th now does look like it was an inside job? That the government lied to us for 20 years about Saudi Arabia's involvement in 9/11? That the Great Replacement theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform.
shit.
That the
Oh,
2020
shit.
election was indeed stolen by big tech. That the 2016 election, the one that Trump won for sure, was
shit.
also one that was stolen from him by the national security establishment
Okay.
that actually
Thank
put
you.
up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that they knew was false. There's a reason why I'm the only person
That'll
on
do
the
it,
stage
sir.
who can
Thank
say
you.
these things. That's what it's going to take, not people who are looking
Yes.
at boots one time and now.
I'm
Monday
sorry,
morning
I gotta
quarterbacking
like
and criticizing
Vivek when
what
he's
is convenient.
calling out this
Governor
shit.
Christie. You do not favor a ban on trans medical treatments for minors, saying it's a parental rights issue. The surgeries done on minors involve cutting off body parts at a time when these kids cannot even legally smoke a cigarette. Kids who go from puberty blockers to cross-sex hormones are at a much greater likelihood of winding up sterile. How is it that you think a parent should be able to okay these surgeries, never mind the sterilization of a child? And aren't you way too out of step on this issue to be the Republican nominee?
No, I'm not. Because Republicans believe in less government, not more. In less involvement with government, not more.
Not when it comes to people hurting fucking children.
Megan, I trust parents. And we're out there saying that we should empower parents in
Jesus.
education. We should empower parents to make more decisions about where their kids go to school. I agree. We should empower parents to be teaching the values that they believe in their homes without the government telling them what those values should be. And yet we want to take other parental rights away. I'm sorry. As a father of 4, I believe there is no one who loves my children more than me. There's no one who loves my children more than my wife. There's no one who cares more about their success and health in life.
Okay, but that's
than we
not
do.
true about
Not
every
some
parent, and that's
government
not true
bureaucrat,
about every
not some-
doctor.
You look at these jokers down in Congress. It takes them 3 weeks to pick a speaker, and up until 2 days ago, they couldn't promote somebody in the military in the United States Senate who earned their new rank. And we're going to put my children's health and my decisions in their hands for them to make those decisions, for Joe Biden to make those decisions, for me and for my wife. Let me just say this. This is not something I favor. I think it's a very, very dangerous thing to do. But that's my opinion as a parent, Megan. And I get to make the decisions about my children, not anybody else. And every parent out there who's watching tonight, you start to turn over just a little bit of this authority, the authority they're going to take from you next, you're not going to like. I'll stand up for parents each and every time.
Nobody's making it illegal for a parent to make the decision.
You do not have the right.
They want to make it illegal for the doctors to persuade the parents to make the decision, and the doctors to profit off of it, and the doctors to do the
When you were
butchering.
governor in 2017, you signed a law that required new guidelines for schools dealing with transgender students. Those guidelines required schools to accept a child's preferred gender identity, even if the minor's parents objected.
Not true.
And it said that there is no duty for schools to notify parents if their son or daughter changes their gender
go.
identity.
DNL
allowing
Mentors
serious
just said
issues
it.
to
Now
remain
he's
a secret
being
between
confronted.
the school and a child. How is any of that pro-parental
By
rights?
the way, that's simply not true.
You're doing what you accuse me of, Chris. It is absolutely true.
That's simply not true. That's simply not true. That law was put into effect in 2018 and regulated in 2018 after I was
you
out of
mandated
office,
the
Megan.
guidelines.
No, we did not, Megan. We did not issue those guidelines, and you're wrong about that. Simply wrong. I have stood up each and every time.
So I think if this is one
That'd be
issue
fun
of
to see the
disqualifying
fact
is
checks
this
on
one.
this after.
I stood up every single time for parents to be able to make the decisions for their minor children.
But parents-
Every single time, parents should make those decisions. And by the way, you know what? Every once in a while, parents are going to make decisions that we disagree with. But the minute you start to take those rights away
Abuse.
from parents,
It's abuse.
you don't know that slippery slope, what rights
It's
are going
not
to be taken
taken away from
next,
parents, it's taken
and what
away
they're
from
gonna
the
do.
doctors.
As a
Go ahead.
parent, you do not
From the
have the right
hospitals
to
that are
abuse
profiting
your
off of
kids.
it.
This is cutting off their genitals. This is mutilating these minors. These are
Yeah, can
irreversible
parents cut off their
procedures.
kids'
And
feet?
this is something that other countries in Europe, like Sweden, once they started doing it, they saw it did incalculable damage. They've shut it down. I signed legislation in Florida banning the mutilation of minors because it is wrong. We cannot allow this to happen in this country. And I know Chris disagrees with me, and I think he has an honest position. Nikki disagrees with me. She opposes the bill that we did to ban that. She said the law shouldn't get involved with it. You said the law shouldn't get involved with it. She also, though, I think, and this flows from what she did as governor of South Carolina, they had a bill to try to say that men shouldn't go into girls' bathrooms. And she killed that bill, and she bragged that she killed that bill. Even to this day, she bragged that. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong. And I think we have every right to protect them from that.
I am going to come to you. I promise.
What about sports locker rooms?
I think the North Star here is transgenderism is a mental health disorder. We don't let you smoke a cigarette by the age of 18. We don't let you have an addictive drink of alcohol by the age of 21. And I just challenge Ron DeSantis to go one step further and support what I think is clearly within the authority to do using federal funds just like Reagan did in '84 for the Highway Act that said the minimum drinking age needs to be 21. We can do the same thing when it comes to banning genital mutilation or chemical castration.
Okay.
I know Ron's been.
Okay.
I like
at the
Vivek
federal
Cookie.
level.
I
I'm
can't.
crystal clear.
I
That's where I
can't be
stand.
on the
That's
DeSantis
a mental
train.
health disorder.
He's
That's the way
good
to be at.
domestically, but his foreign policy is shit.
So first of all, Ron has continued to lie because he's losing.
No, it's not a lie.
You are lying.
You
so
said it
first of
on
all,
tape.
So first of all, I will say that when I was governor, 10 years ago, when the bathroom situation came up, we had maybe a handful of kids that were dealing with an issue. And I said, we don't need to bring government into this, but boys go into boys' bathrooms, girls go into girls' bathrooms, and if anyone else has an issue, they use a private bathroom. Now, 10 years later, we see that this issue has exploded. And this shows how hypocritical Ron continues to be. When he was running for governor,
but the
and they
answer to
asked
that
him
is then
about that, he
government
said
has
he
to
didn't
force public
think
establishments to
bathroom bills were a
provide
good use
private
of his
bathrooms.
time. You can go look that up.
I signed a bathroom bill in Florida, so
But
that's
you said-
obviously
no.
not true.
So the idea that you would say that I was
signed
against
it, you
that.
didn't.
Everyone's
You
got
killed it, I
opinions,
signed
Cookie.
it. I
We
stood up
didn't-
for little girls. You didn't do it. And there was this going on. I was actually just in South Carolina. Some of the legislators told me at the time there were boys going into the girls. That's the
There
whole
were
reason
not-
why they
No,
did
no,
it.
no, no, no.
And so they say when she does that explanation that that doesn't hold water. And this is the upstate of South Carolina.
Ron.
I signed the bill. I
Do
protected
you
the
know
girls.
South Carolinians?
She did not do,
you
it.
know
I
South
know that.
Carolinians? Because no. You are not going to talk about my state like that because I will tell you for a fact, South Carolinians never allowed that to happen, and we did not have that issue at the time. What I have always said is boys go into a boys' bathroom, girls go into a girls' bathroom. But hold on one second. I also say that biological boys shouldn't be playing in girls' sports, and I will do everything I can to stop that because it's the women's issue of our time.
And I signed legislation to protect women's sports. I actually get this stuff done.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you,
say
guys.
it
We're gonna
shouldn't
move on.
happen. DeSantis
Mr.
makes it
Ramaswamy,
not happen.
When discussing your Hindu faith in September, you seemed to take a shot at Ambassador Haley, who is also Indian American and who converted to Christianity as an adult. You said, an easy thing for me to do, being a politician, is to shorten my name, profess to be a Christian, and then run. Make Vivek Vicky or whatever, end quote. Are you questioning Nikki Haley's Christian convictions? And why has your campaign made a point of referring to Ambassador Haley by her given first name, Nimrata, even though she's gone by Nikki for her
Because
whole
she
life?
wants
Well, my
everyone
whole
on the
deal is
internet
if
to
Nikki
give
Haley,
their
of all
name, and
people,
she
should
won't
know how
even
to
give her
pronounce
name
my
during her
correctly, the rest
campaign.
of the news media can learn it. My deal is I'll call her Nikki when she can say my own name right. That's our little fun side bet there. Here's what I will say is deeper. I don't question her faith, but I question her authenticity. And I think that's deeper here. We were just talking about the trans issue. This is a symptom of a deeper cancer in American life, identity politics. This new religion that says your race, your gender, and your sexuality are your identity. It is anti-American. It is meritocratic, it's anti-meritocratic, and it is dividing this country to a breaking point. And I've spoken about this to the left. My books are all about this. I've preached this to the left, but it's even worse when Republicans try to play the same game. We're talking about that trans issue. And Nikki Haley's campaign launch video sounded like a woke Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light ad talking about how she would kick in heels. At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send her kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem, using identity politics.
Oh, that's the
Kamala Harris
screenshot, right?
Is a form of intellectual fraud, and it actually needs to.
That's the front page
wielding their
of
puppet
every
right up here
conservative
tonight.
newspaper tomorrow.
This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and
Well,
I
the
reject
ones
the
that
use of
aren't
identity politics
beholden
in this party.
to the
It has been a cancer coming from
corporate
the left,
donors.
and I'm sick and tired of the double standards. The people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you
Okay,
from
thank you.
criticism.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Governor Haley, would you like to respond?
No. It's not worth my time to respond to him.
You have been using identity politics in
Oh,
every step.
yeah, you were clamoring for a response earlier.
Sir, we're not going to give you a response to the question that was to you.
Okay, we got to move on to this. Now, by arrangement with the Republican National Committee, we've got 2 questions for you about the Justice Department and our election system. Here's Tom Fitton with Judicial Watch. Governor Christie, this one's for you.
We got a third-party question here.
President Trump and many of his supporters claim federal law enforcement agencies have abused his civil rights for the last 8 years by, among other things, spying on him and now prosecuting him while having treated Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with kid gloves. A recent Gallup poll shows that Americans think more highly of the U.S. Postal Service than they do the FBI or Justice Department. What would you do as president to restore the faith of the American people in these agencies?
Well, first off, I'm the only person on this stage who's actually done a job in the Department of Justice. I was the U.S. Attorney in New Jersey in the 5th largest office in this country, appointed by President Bush on September 10th, 2001. And it was an extraordinary time in this country to be on the front lines of fighting the greatest attack against our country.
9/11 dropped it
Pearl Harbor.
again.
And I'm proud of the
Jesus.
7 years I spent in the Justice Department. And one of the reasons I am is because I had an Attorney General when I came in named John Ashcroft. And John Ashcroft stood up and told each and every one of us our job was to do one thing, to make sure justice was done every day, regardless of partisanship, regardless of gender or race or any other consideration. And that's what we did for 7 years. And at a time when our
Ashcroft
country
was
was at its greatest
crooked too.
moment
Come
of
on.
danger in the last 40 years, we did exactly that, and there was not another domestic terrorist attack on this soil. So what I would do as president, having had that experience, and the only one who's had that experience, is to pick an attorney general who will absolutely do the same thing that John Ashcroft did, to pick U.S. attorneys who will only care about making sure that justice is done without regard to any other consideration but the facts that are presented and whether someone is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and the government can prove it.
Dear Lord, we
We
still got
have had
35
attorneys
minutes of
general
this.
like Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and Jeff Sessions and now
Name
our
drop,
current
name
Attorney
drop,
General,
name drop.
who have not met that standard. And the only way you restore people's faith in the justice system is to put someone like that in charge of the Justice Department, and then as president, to get the hell out of the way on anything that involves criminal investigations. If a president's involved in trying to do something and put their thumb on the scales, Donald Trump says he will do, that makes people much less likely to believe our justice system can be fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Governor DeSantis, this next one's for you. Back to Tom Fitton.
Many Republicans are concerned about the legitimacy of elections. A federal judge just ruled that Pennsylvania must count undated mail-in ballots, and unlike Alabama, many states still don't require any identification to vote. What should states do now to increase election integrity and voter confidence for the 2024 election?
Well, Tom, thanks for the question. Thanks for what you guys do at Judicial Watch. It's really, really important. There's a lot of corruption in this government. You guys are doing a great job. What you should do for election integrity is do what we did in Florida. 20 years ago, Florida and elections was a joke. Everybody would laugh at it. I came in, I removed a couple supervisors from South Florida. We require voter ID universal, no Zuckerbucks, no mass mail balloting, and no ballot harvesting. We even have an agency that prosecutes people for violating election laws.
That's why you need to stay in the state.
In both 2020 and 2022, we counted millions and millions of votes on election night, produced the results, it was transparent, and everybody was happy. That is not happening throughout this country. But let me tell you this as the nominee. I think it's important. Not every state's where we need it to be. There is ballot harvesting in places like Nevada, all these places. I am not going to fight with one hand tied behind my back. I'm going to have organizations in all the swing states. If they're harvesting, we're harvesting. If they're Zuckerbucks, we're Zuckerbucks. We are going to exploit whatever the rules are. I favor changing the rules to be like Florida and some of the other states that have done a good job. But until then, we have to do that. And then just on the Justice Department and FBI. I mean, I remember being, in Iraq working with FBI on the ground and being, and then I was a special assistant. I used to have such a high regard for these agencies. What they did to Donald Trump with the Russia collusion was one of the biggest abuses of power in the history of our country. These agencies need to be cleaned out. With me, you'll have a new FBI director on day one. We're going to clear out the DOJ, the IRS, all these places. Buckle your seatbelts.
What about what they're doing with Hunter Biden? Nobody's mentioning Hunter Biden.
Break. We're going to come back in 1 minute. China up next.
China up next. Okay. Well, again, they're not mentioning Hunter Biden, right? They're talking about a corrupt DOJ, a corrupt FBI, and yet they're not mentioning Hunter Biden. And they're kind of going light on the Trump stuff, right? I mean, I guess they all just kind of tried to roast Trump except for Vivek Ramaswamy, right? But the rest of them, tried to roast Trump. And so now, if you make Trump look like a victim, right, then again, the point of them on stage right now is trying to make them look strong, but none of them, if all of them are attacking each other, none of them look stronger than Donald Trump, right? It's almost like when 2020, when Biden wouldn't debate, right? There was the whole, he's hiding in his basement narrative. It's like Trump learned from that. Like if you got one politician always out there, always talking about the other. Sorry, I had to cough again. If you got one politician out there always talking about the other. Yeah, and that other one, all you're going to do is make the people hate the person that's hating, right? Everyone, my whole tagline of my channel is outlast the haters, right? Outlast haters. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Since they can't get Trump out of their mouth. There we go. Right there. Outlast haters. Since they can't get Trump out of their mouth, Trump is simply outlasting the haters. If he went on stage and debated these people, he would have no choice but to go to the sleazy insults and the talking about record and policy and all this, the same shit they're doing to each other, and nobody wins. I mean, unfortunately, if you're Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis, you kind of have to. It's the only way you can get your name in the media. It's the only way you can get in front of the eyes of the American people. It's the only way you can get your policy positions vocalized. Anyway, so we have Hunsinger UK joining the chat. He says, "What's up, my dude?" Well, you know, we're watching this debate, and there's some spicy moments thanks to Vivek Ramaswamy, and particularly Vivek Ramaswamy versus Nikki Haley, and there've been these spicy moments, and it's been pretty good. A lot of it's been rehash of the first 3 debates. I said I wasn't going to drink any more whiskey, but for Hunsinger, I'll pour one more sip. One tiny sip. So cheers. Get a little scotch. Just a sip. Because, you know, it's my policy on my channel right now. You come in the chat, you say hi, you get a toast and a shout out. So cheers to Hunsinger. But, you know, we've still got the warmongering going on. I like that Vivek Ramaswamy. First off, I like that Ron DeSantis called out the ESG bullshit of BlackRock and then tied Nikki Haley into BlackRock and the, you know, the rich investors. But yeah, I like the fact that Vivek called out, you know, the election fraud, called out that January 6th is looking like a Fed op. You know, these candidates, they need to get on board with what's really happening. And granted, I may be in the right-wing hug box that is conservative Twitter a lot of the time. But I even have conversations with people, and they see these news stories. They see things like, you know, the House of Representatives releasing the January 6th footage, and people seeing, you know, cops and feds leading people down the hall. Okay, the debate's coming back.
GOP presidential primary debate of 2023. We're going to talk about our college campuses. Starting with you, Ambassador Haley. House Republicans yesterday hauled elite university presidents up to Capitol Hill to answer for the displays of anti-Semitism.
I should have covered that on my show
campuses.
earlier.
These leaders, including the president of Harvard, were asked whether calling for the genocide of the Jews would violate school policies against harassment and intimidation. All of them said it would depend on the context, including whether that speech veers into conduct. How do you think these schools and the rest of society should balance the imperative of free speech against the need to prevent radical activists from harassing and intimidating others?
It was disgusting to see what happened. You know, if this had been the KKK that was doing protests on those campuses, every one of those college presidents would have been up in arms. This is just as bad. The idea that they would go and allow that kind of pro-Hamas protest or agree with the genocide of Jews.
They get government dollars. They have to allow free speech. There is no context to that. This is what we need to do to deal with it. First of all, we have got to get foreign money out of our universities. You've got Arab money, you've got Chinese money, you've got others. We need to go to every university and say, you either take foreign money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. The second thing we need to do is Biden made a mistake not including anti-Zionism in the definition of anti-Semitism. If you don't think that Israel has a right to exist, that is anti-Semitic. We will change the definition so that every government, every school has to acknowledge the definition for what it is. The third thing is we really do need to ban TikTok once and for all. And let me tell you why. For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok, every day, what about
they
your daughter?
become
What about your daughter?
17% more anti-Semitic, more pro-Hamas.
Is your daughter anti-Semitic?
We now know that 50% of adults 18 to 25 think that Hamas was warranted in what they did with Israel. That's a problem. When campuses also don't go and protect when they have these rallies and you've got students that are scared, we need to go to these universities and say, if you're not going to protect these students, if you're not going to acknowledge anti-Semitism, we'll take your tax-exempt status away. That'll fix it, and that'll take care of it for good.
Staying with you,
Thank you for coming by,
Ambassador
Salty.
Haley.
Good having you in the chat,
On
man.
October 6th, the Israeli government thought it had a clear-eyed view of the threat from Hamas. In fact, according to the New York Times, it even had Hamas's attack plan and dismissed it as an aspiration. The Israelis were wrong. In our country, the FBI director told the Senate panel just yesterday that he sees, quote, blinking red lights everywhere, and that the threat level has, quote, gone to a whole nother level since
So we
October
just went
7th.
through why the DOJ and
Which
the
of
FBI
threats
is
facing
wrong
our
about
country
everything, and now we're
do
gonna
you worry could blindside
now we're
us?
gonna be like, oh
What
yeah, the
worries
FBI.
me
The
and
FBI
what
told
keeps
us
me
about
up at night
dangerous
is
stuff.
What happens between now and Election Day while Joe Biden's in office? That's what worries me more than anything else. But I'll tell you that America right now is acting like it's September 10th. We better remember what September 12th felt like, because it only takes one. And whether you're looking at open borders that are allowing people to come in, Iran knows the easiest way to get to America is through the southern border, and we're not doing anything to stop it. We've got to get the foreign infiltration out of our country, whether it's in our schools, whether it's on our social media, whether it's we need to stop all foreign lobbying that's happening to members of Congress, and we need to start securing America again. Until we do that, we are going to be at threats. We've got to look at Iran, China, and Russia want to destroy the West. We have to start acting strong again. We've got to start protecting Americans. Right now, Americans don't feel protected, and we're not doing anything to strengthen it. So Joe Biden continues to be a problem. That'll
Why do
change on
Americans
Election
need
Day.
to feel protected?
Governor DeSantis, if China invades Taiwan, would you send American troops, as President Biden has said he would do?
We will be able to deter that from happening. I think that's the important thing. We need a strategy of denial so that we're deterring Xi's ambitions.
What if it doesn't work?
It's going to work. Taiwan's an ally. We have longstanding American policy, and you know how that's done, and we will follow that. But here's the thing. Taiwan
You
is
know
important
how
not
that's
just because
done.
of
Well-
semiconductors. It's important because if China is able to break out of this first island chain, they're going to be able to dominate commerce in the entire Indo-Pacific. They will use
You're the
that to
one putting it
export
forward as a policy.
authoritarianism all around the world, including here in the United States. You look at some of these guys, actually some of them that are supporting Nikki on Wall Street, they grovel to China. Anytime something happens, they got to go do that. So they already exert a huge amount of authority over this country. It will get a lot worse. So deterring China's
Careful, you
ambitions
attack
is the
Nikki
number
too
one
much.
national
Chris Christie's
security,
gonna get involved, man.
task that I will do as president, and we will succeed. The 21st century needs to be an American century. We cannot let it be a Chinese century.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
I think we need to be
I'm
clear
coming
on,
to you
I'll
next.
be clear on the same issue, if
Okay,
I may.
I'm coming to you next on Taiwan. You said if you want to stop Xi from invading Taiwan, quote, let's open a branch of the NRA in Taiwan and put an AR-15 in the hands of every family
yeah.
and train them how
Fuck
to use
yeah.
it. That will give Xi a taste of American exceptionalism, end
Yes.
quote. The National Police in Taiwan announced a zero-gun policy last year. Is this a serious policy proposal? And if it isn't, why do you keep repeating it?
Well, it's part of a broader deterrence strategy. And so I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with Ron here. I think the next U.S. president needs to be crystal clear that, at least for the foreseeable future, the U.S. will absolutely defend Taiwan. And it is with that clarity that we actually achieve deterrence. But I have a broader strategy than that. We need to get on side in our relationship with India, take it to the next level. India has to be able to block the Andaman Sea, which is where China gets most of its Middle Eastern oil supplies. That's critical. I also do believe the Second Amendment is a critical way of preventing foreign autocrats from being able to. It's worked in America. Why wouldn't it work in Taiwan? So it is part of a broader strategy. But I do think that we need to be specific about our deterrence strategy, or else Xi Jinping is just encroaching by the day. And the reason why we're not doing it for China, I want to be crystal clear, is because we're scared. Why are we scared? Because we depend on them for our modern way of life. Why do we depend on them for our modern way of life? It's because Nikki Haley's latest friends like Larry Fink have created commingled economies.
Disavow,
with BlackRock
Singlet.
telling
No,
Exxon and
no.
Chevron they can't drill here, while being a shareholder of PetroChina, not applying those same constraints in China. So it is our economic dependence on China that makes us scared. If that were a Russian spy balloon, we'd have shot it down in an instant. If that were a Russian spy base in Cuba, we'd be actually going hard on them instead of turning the other way as we are with China. So it comes back down to that economic dependence. We cannot depend on them for our pharmaceuticals, our semiconductors, and people have been lied to for a long time. Our own military, the F-35 jets that we make in this country, depend on China, and it's going to take an outsider to fix that broken establishment.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy. Ambassador Haley, would you like to respond?
I mean, when it comes to China and Taiwan, the one way that we keep China from going into Taiwan is, one, make sure that we win in Ukraine, that we protect our friends, but also let China know that they'll be hell to pay if they go into Taiwan. They need to know that there is going to be a force that's going to go against them. And they need to know it's not just going to be the United States. That is why we need to build our partnerships with India, with South Korea, with Japan, with the Philippines, with Australia. We need to start pulling that alliance together. And the first way we do that is we need to make sure that on day one, we look at the fact, if China pulled the rug out from under us tomorrow, would we be ready? Think about what happened during COVID. Everybody told you to wear a mask. They were made in China. Everybody told you to take a COVID test. They were made in China. Everybody went and, I mean, everything that happened. If you go to the drugstore, all those medicines are made in China.
Yeah, I was telling people just use hand sanitizer and wash your fucking hands.
Related to our national security, which means
I can't tell you how many times I went to the bathroom during COVID and somebody wasn't washing their fucking hands.
I'd like you to weigh in on that. And do you think arming
but they'd
every
be wearing a
family in
face
Taiwan
diaper
with an AR-15 is a plausible policy?
You know, I don't think we have constitutional authority.
How many people I've seen wearing a face diaper and not washing their fucking hands?
I think they can only do that for themselves. But look, I want to be really clear. Once again, I want to play the role of actually answering your question, which is if China went after Taiwan, you're absolutely right. I would, as president, have us go militarily and defend them. Secondly, I'm not afraid. Based
troops
upon
all
those
over the
economic
world.
relationships to do that, because these economic relationships mean nothing. Nothing. If what's going to happen is that China is going to come and act in that region of the world however they see fit. It's not right. And I'll say this about what I heard from Nikki earlier. She said that Donald Trump was good on trade. He wasn't. And the proof that he wasn't good on trade with China is that all he did was impose tariffs, which raised the prices for every American. You want to
Bullshit,
know
it brought
what
him
has contributed
down
to inflation in this country? Yes, it's more government spending. Yes, it's the fact that we're printing too much money. Absolutely, but it is also the increase in prices.
It brought him down and made the American steel industry fucking boom.
You can't say he was good on trade because he didn't trade. He didn't change one Chinese policy in the process. He failed on it.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Governor DeSantis, switching subjects here. For 15 years,
fucking liar,
Republicans have been
Cream.
burned by politicians' promises to repeal Obamacare. Trump repeatedly promised to replace it with, quote, something terrific, but failed to propose anything. You're now promising something better, but Florida has more uninsured people than almost any other state.
Congratulations, that's a good idea.
You more than any other Republicans who've disappointed them on this issue.
Well, I think we have millions of Americans who do not have access to affordable health care. And it's not just getting some type of card and Medicaid, because a lot of times they don't even get access to doctors. Do you actually get access to care? The other thing is we have millions and millions of people who don't have access to good doctors and good hospitals. Florida did not expand Obamacare. I think the states that did that, I think are struggling financially. So that, yes, we declined to do that, and I don't think that that was the right policy to do. But we are going to go after the cost. You're paying too much for everything.
Yeah.
We've actually addressed
if
this
you
in
got the
Florida
money in
some
the
ways, but you
bank,
need
why
price
give it to a fucking
transparency.
insurance
You need to
company?
hold the pharmaceuticals
Leave it in the
accountable.
bank and
You
pay
need to
for
hold
your
big
goddamn
insurance and
medical
big government
services.
accountable, and we're going to get that done. I think it's very, very important economically. I think it's very, very important for the country that we get that done.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, this is a very personal issue to our family. I wanted to take actually a minute to recognize my wife who's here today. Badass surgeon. She did a bunch of cases with cancer survivors earlier today, flew here to be tonight. We'll be back at 7 a.m. in Columbus, Ohio tomorrow, taking care of those patients in the OR. And on the front lines of people who have actually not swallowed for years. And here's what's something that's awful that's happening in our healthcare system. They'll pay for anything like feeding tubes, doctors to be pill pushers, but for the procedures that can actually make these patients better, we have a broken healthcare system that doesn't pay for it. My wife, Apoorva, in
Well,
many
you got to
cases
pay for
does not
surgeons,
get
and
paid
surgeons
for
are
those
expensive,
procedures.
man.
She
They
does
get
them
the
anyway
hour
because it's the right thing to do. But that does not work system-wide. So here's the answer. We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system.
Yes.
We need to start having diverse insurance options in a competitive marketplace that cover actual health.
But
preventative
no,
medicine,
there's
diet, exercise, lifestyle, and otherwise. And here's how we deliver that.
end the antitrust exemptions for health insurance companies. That's where the competitive marketplace begins.
Next
That's crony
question's for you.
capitalism, and that's the answer.
Okay.
When you can find
Operation
loopholes to
Warp
get
Speed,
trans surgeries paid for,
the Trump
but
administration
you can't
and
get your
private
fucking
industry
little
developed a COVID
stage 2
vaccine
cancer
in record
taken
time.
out.
Competitive
Oh, the stream's really lagging now. Here, let me bring it down real quick. Oh, look. They are having technical difficulties. Okay. I was going to refresh because I thought maybe it was a memory issue, but okay, so I'm going to remove that real quick, and I'll just say, yeah, you know, our healthcare system is fucked up because we care more about getting Brazilian butt lifts and erectile dysfunction taken care of than people dying of cancer or people like he said, people who can't eat or breathe because, you know, they've got issues with their throat or chest. Oh dear Lord, man. They're really having technical difficulties. Uh-oh. Wow, we may have just seen the debate die. Okay, they just stopped playing the music, but they still got the ticker up. Hunsinger UK says, I don't know if he's strong enough to do the things necessary to break the government BS, but I really like him as a VP, and then running 4 years later after 4 years of VP experience could be. I'm assuming you're talking about Vivek. And yeah, I kind of agree. Vivek seems to have, I hate to say it, he seems to be the one running to be Trump's VP, right? You know, he's not being you know, snake-tongued at Trump. He's not being snake-tongued at most of the Republican Party, just the neocons. And, you know, he seems to have an understanding of the policy positions that would turn some things around in America. Now, if you're talking about DeSantis, again, for one, DeSantis couldn't be VP because there's the constitutional clause that says you can't be from the same state. The president and vice president can't be from the same state. And so, you know, unfortunately, DeSantis couldn't be Trump's VP candidate. But again, I don't want to see him on the national stage. I want to see Ron DeSantis where he's at, being one of the best governors in the country, fixing domestic policy and showing other states how it's done. I would like to see Kansas vote in or Kansas and Missouri, you know, the two states I spend the most time in, vote in Republican governors. And for them to follow DeSantis's lead. So now they're showing, it looks like they might be coming back soon on the debate stream. Look what they're doing. Where's the debate, folks?
Text PIN to 80810 to get your exclusive Golden Elephant.
No, I'm not texting PIN to 80810. I don't want a Republican logo gold pin for Christmas. If you want a Republican gold pin for Christmas, not for me, just if you happen to want one, put a one in the chat. So they got the ads going on now. Okay, so now they went to ads. I don't know why they didn't go to ads when the thing went down. Oh, so you think he's selling snake oil, or do you think he means what he says about foreign policy and immigration and trans kids. Cookie put a 0 in the chat. She does not want the Republican logo gold pin. And also does not like Vivek Ramaswamy. So, sure. Look, I think most people are clear. Like, it's going to be Trump. We want Trump. Look, Hunsinger, I got to kind of disagree. I don't think Nikki Haley's a good speaker. And I really don't think DeSantis is the best speaker. He's a decent speaker. But maybe I just don't like Nikki Haley because I'm a sexist, like she was accusing Vivek Ramaswamy of being earlier. Wow, man, they're really going in with the damn ads here. We got Kevin Sorbo selling tax consultation.
Network USA Today.
Got a Rumble ad. Introducing Rumble Cloud. Yeah, I'll play the Rumble ad here. Okay, Hunsinger said, no, I'm talking about Clinton, Obama, and Vivek. Okay. Yeah. Beta partner program. Oh, now they're repeating the ads. They played this ad. Okay. They must still be having some serious issues, and they're just like, fuck it, let's get all our ad shit over with for the night, and then we can bring back the debate after. But they've got less than 10 minutes now. I don't know what to do here, man. It's like they're having technical difficulties. I'm trying to talk as much as I can, but quite frankly, you know, I've been sitting here commenting the whole time, so I don't have much to say other than, you know, Trump's running away with this thing. And so far, nobody else is standing out as, look, this is why I'm better than Trump, right? No one has said that. They say, this is why Trump's bad, and this is why I'm better than the other candidates on the stage. But nobody's saying, look, I love the way Trump did this, but I would add this. Oh, here we go. It's back.
Final question before closing statements, and we want to get you all
Final
in,
question.
so we're going to give you 45 seconds for this last one.
45 seconds
Governor
apiece.
Christie, we're going to start with you. Which former president would you draw inspiration from for your own presidency, and why?
I would draw inspiration from Ronald Reagan.
Oh, here we go. Here's where everybody sucks off Reagan.
I've spent a lot of
Or
time
Lincoln.
writing a book about President Reagan that's going to be called What Would Reagan Do? That book's going to come out early in 2024.
Reagan would
What I
fire
learned
Chris
more than anything
Christie.
else was that Ronald Reagan was a slave to the truth. Ronald Reagan stood up for the truth, whether it was popular or unpopular at the moment. In 1964, he stood up against the John Birch Society when it was very unpopular to the party to do it, but he would not put up with our party standing for lies.
Really?
and
You're going to
deceit,
shit on the
even
Birch
it gave him
Society right
political
now?
progress. That's the kind of president that I will be, and I would draw that inspiration from the 40th president of the United
All
States.
the things you
Ronald
can
Reagan.
criticize, you're going to criticize the
Ambassador
Birch
Haley?
Society.
Well, I have to say, too, I think George Washington, when you look at the responsibilities he had,
George
how did he go and
Washington.
take on this great
She's
American
George
experiment
Washington.
and make sure that the
Okay,
people are
well, if you
protected,
send
and
us
they
to war,
always
I
knew
want to
that
see your
government
ass on a
was intended to
horse with a
secure the
fucking
rights and
sword,
freedoms
you
of the people.
dumb
It was never meant
bitch.
to be all things
Oh
to
my
all
God.
people. And then you look at Abraham Lincoln, and you look at the challenges, and you look at the division that happened in our country, and the ability to lead in spite of the loud noises and say, what will bring out the best in people to get us to go forward is always something that's important. And I think we need that now more than ever.
Can you
Governor
believe the
DeSantis.
fucking gall
Reagan,
of
Washington, Lincoln,
comparing?
excellent. One of the guys I'll take inspiration from is Calvin Coolidge. Now, people don't talk about him a lot.
Calvin
He's one
Coolidge.
of the
Okay,
few
well, I can
presidents that
understand.
got almost
Yes.
everything right. He understood the
Good
proper
answer.
role of the federal government under the Constitution. We need to restore the U.S. Constitution as the centerpiece of our
Reagan is
national
overdone,
life, and that
overplayed.
requires a president
She said
who
George
understands the
fucking
original
Washington.
understanding of the Constitution,
Coolidge
who has
is
a
cool.
good sense of the Bill of Rights, and who knows how we've gone off track with this massive fourth branch of government, this administrative state, which is imposing its will on us and is being weaponized against us. So Silent Cal knew the proper role of the federal government. The country was in great shape when he was president of the United States, and we can learn an awful lot from Calvin Coolidge.
Over to you, Mr. Ramaswamy, to conclude our history lesson.
Sure. Well, I will say Ron picked a president who was born on July 4th. I'll pick one who died on July 4th. It's Thomas Jefferson.
Yes,
He was
sir.
33 years old when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And you all are sitting on a swivel chair today. He invented the swivel chair while he was at it, while writing that Declaration of Independence. That's that founding spirit that we miss, that we're the
What the
pioneers.
fuck?
We're the explorers, the guy who
Talking
sent them
about
out on the Lewis
swivel
and Clark
chairs.
expeditions. And I think a lot about what would Thomas Jefferson say to today's Republican Party. And I think one thing he'd remind us of, we haven't talked about it as much tonight, but I think it is one of the interesting ideological discussions we're having in our party is freedom of speech. You get to express your mind freely no matter how heinous the opinion. Thomas Jefferson understood that.
All
He's
right.
an inspiration for me.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
Yes.
And believe it or not,
Yes, fuck yes.
it's time for closing statements. Governor Christie, would you like to begin?
Sure, thank you. I want you all to kind of picture in your minds Election Day. You'll all be heading to the polls to vote. And that's something that Donald Trump will not be able to do.
And none of you will be on that
because he will
ballot.
be convicted of felonies before then, and his right to vote will be taken away. You know?
Oh, your 20% just went down to 5, Krispy
Here's the bottom
Kreme.
line. You can boo about it all you like and continue to deny reality. But if we deny reality as a party, we're going to have 4 more years of Joe Biden. When my colleagues here raised their hands and said they would support him even if he was a convicted felon, the bigger problem with it is they were confirming the lies he's told to the American people. If you're too timid to take on Trump, believe me, others will see that timidity. Xi, Putin, and the Ayatollah, the border crossers on the southern border, and the criminals in our streets. They'll sense that
They also
timidity,
see when
and they'll
America
take advantage
spreads
of that
itself
failure of
thin all
leadership.
over the world and
We
can't
need to get
defend
back to an old
herself, you
American idea
fucking fat
that
warmonger.
Every person is responsible for their own conduct, even a president. I'll be the kind of president who has the humility that knows that you work for the people. It's not the other way around. I will earn your trust. I want to earn your vote.
Thank you, Governor Christie. Mr. Ramaswamy?
I'll use this to just address a topic we didn't talk about tonight, but I think is one of the most important topics that needs to be discussed. That is this climate change agenda that is shackling this country like a set of handcuffs.
Yes.
I said it at the first debate, and I stand by it. The climate change agenda is a hoax because it has nothing to do with the climate. That's what we have to see. 98% reduction in the climate disaster-related deaths in the last century. 8 times as many people are going to die of cold temperatures this year than warm ones. Yet against that backdrop, there's an issue coming up in Iowa. It's core to Iowa farmers. I met Kim Junker, Kathy Stockdale, and other farmers who are about to have a carbon capture pipeline
don't
built
ban
across
farts,
their land,
people.
using eminent domain to do it. That's unconstitutional and it's wrong. And if you thought COVID was bad, what's coming with this climate agenda is far worse. We should not be bending the knee to this new religion. That is what it is. It is a substitute for a modern religion. We are flogging ourselves and losing our modern way of life, bowing to this new god of climate, and that will end on my watch.
Thank
it's
you,
the most critical
Ambassador
issue
Haley.
that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our country is in chaos. We see it on the southern border.
we
see
go.
it on our streets and our cities.
We need to
see
put
it
more
on
troops in
college
our
campuses.
cities.
We feel it with our economy, with inflation and with debt, and we feel it around the world with wars in Europe and within the Middle East. We have to stop the chaos, but you can't defeat Democrat chaos with Republican chaos. And that's what Donald Trump gives us.
What?
My approach is different. No drama, no vendettas, no whining. I envision an America where we're protected from illegal immigration and Chinese infiltration. I
Says a woman
envision
who
an
in the
America
last debate
where
couldn't
we unleash our
let Vivek
economy and we
Ramaswamy
reject
have a
socialism.
fucking
But
win
more
over
importantly,
her.
I envision an America where we rediscover our national purpose and our pride.
Thank you.
I crushed Joe Biden.
Vivek
in the
was
polls.
criticizing
And if
Ron
you give me
DeSantis,
this
and you had to
chance,
jump
we
in,
will
make it
crush
all
him
about
in
you.
November and take our
Thank
country
you.
back.
No
Go to
drama.
Ambassador Haley.
No vendetta. You couldn't go 5 minutes without having a vendetta the last debate. You liar. Liar, liar, whore.
We are in jeopardy of being the first generation of Americans to leave to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. I refuse to sit idly by and let that happen. But we got to have people that are going to be willing to fight the people that are doing this to us. You can't be these establishment Republicans that just cave at the first sign of opposition. I'll fight for you. We also need to win again as a party. Yes, win the election, which we've struggled to do, but also win on these big issues. And nobody has defeated these people more than what I have done in the state of Florida on issue after issue. We have won, and we have won big, and that's
Fair
what we'll
enough.
do for you. We also need leadership. Leadership is
Ron's
not
ending
about doing
strong
what's
here.
easy. It's about being willing to set out that
Thank you.
vision, knowing they're going to shoot arrows at you. They're going to come at you. I will
Thank
fight
you.
the good fight. I will keep the faith, and I will finish the race.
Thank you,
and
Governor.
God bless
Thank
you.
you, all of you. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, cuckolds of all ages, that was the 4th presidential primary debate. I believe it might have been the last one, I think, unless they've agreed to a 5th one. Yeah, that's going to be it for tonight. So, yeah, thank you everybody who joined me, everyone who stayed through, you know, the crazy woman earlier that I was covering, and stayed through the debate. And, you know, if you've been hanging on since 6 p.m. Central, you know, my heart's out to you. You know, I don't think I could watch myself for 3 hours. So if you've been hanging in there, big thanks to you. And I'd give you another toast if I had any whiskey, if I could tolerate another sip of whiskey. But I still got to eat and go to bed and make sure I'm up at the crack of dawn for work tomorrow. So yes, a big thank you to everyone who's here. If you could take just a second, if you haven't yet, click that like button. Please click that follow button, or subscribe if you're on YouTube. Share this on another platform. If you're new here, we did have a couple of new chatters. If you're new here, please watch a different video on my channel at some point this week. You know, when you watch a second video from a creator, it tends to boost the algorithm. The thumbs up button boosts the algorithm, and sharing this off the platform boosts the algorithm. And that's the best thing you could do for a fledgling creator like myself, is help boost us in the algorithm so more eyeballs see us and we get these new viewers in. So yeah, we're now a little bit over the 3-hour mark. Once again, down in the description are links to all my social media and my channels on the other video platforms. You can find me on those, follow me on those, and you'll be able to get updates of when my next show is. And yeah, everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you. I can't thank you enough, because when I have a stream like this where we're engaged, I'm engaged with the chat, I'm engaged with the content, it feels like a very successful night, and I couldn't do it without you folks. So yes, a million times thank you for showing up. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. Outlast the haters. Don't get any on you, and if you do, rub it in real good. I'll see you next time on Mild's Culture Plate. Take care, everybody. Have a good Wednesday evening. Peace.